At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Ansony Sieh, and a pleasant welcome to Friday night debate here at Focus on Liberia. As you heard, we educate, we elevate, and we promote all things Liberia. It's current issue debate, it's Friday night debate, and our debaters are all set and seated. And before I can welcome them in, let me tell you what is on the menu for today's current issue debate. The U.S. government threatening yet another visa ban, warning individuals who may be attempting to tamper with the upcoming election. Uncle Sam is saying, don't try it. Well, we know similar thing happened in Sierra Leone after that election was conducted. There was an investigation that established that there was tampering that took place and some individuals were slammed with visa ban. I don't know what visa ban is going to do for those individuals. Manabio is still comfortably seated. Well, next on the menu, CPP launches a 2023 campaign this October 1st at the ATS. Will they be able to put up the crowd that Boakai put up or the CDC put up? What is this thing about crowd politics? But hey, that is the business of politics. They have to launch anyway. Well, will they pull the numbers that they think that they can bring for the Liberian people to see their strength? Not only that, Councillor Tiawan say, Gongloe, the standard bearer of the Liberian People Party, goes stronger this time on Jose Yaman Boakai and criticizes him. According to him, it's like Boakai and Ellen Johnson Sally went on water, and Boakai is saying, I did not get wet, only Ellen got wet, but we'll get to the meat of it all. Former ruling Unity Party ran to the Supreme Court to pray for a writ of mandamus for the releasing of the FFRO. And also, Joseph Yaman Boakai clarifies his statement in which he said, if should anything happen to the election result, meaning that if he is to be cheated, that would be the end of Liberia. He is saying that's not what he meant, that he will end Liberia. Well, the debaters are all set, and not forgetting about the pro president, who is also known as Mr. Barrow Medicine, now campaigns with a helicopter. What has happened to Mr. Pro and Mr. Barrow Medicine? Jerome Gaiman is here. He will play defense. I know he's good at that. And we will not forget about the violence that's just erupted in Foya and Joseph Boakai back here. What is going on there? We don't have all the facts here, but we know this has happened. Reportedly, some individuals are left dead in that part of Liberia. Seated and ready for the debate is the man Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, how you doing from the nation's capital?
Hey, Ansony, glad to be aboard. A lot is going on, like you rightly said, and it's getting contentious. And hope we can steer our way through all this melee.
Thank you. Also seated and ready for the debate is Mr. Calebo Gongloe. Mr. Gongloe, it's good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here for the first time to share my thoughts with these wonderful people. But I'm just sad I don't see anybody from the Unity Party here.
Thank you for joining us. And joining us also is Mr. J. Victor Namwe, who is a member of the CPP. Getting some feedback there. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Maybe that will correct that. I think that feedback might have been coming from Mr. Nangbe. Mr. Nangbe made adjustment at your end. Liberians are curious about the issues we have on our menu. They want to get your take. You are all bright minds here. But let me go to the man, Ambulai Mame, my good friend from Team Gongloe. It's good to have you.
Yeah, same thing here. Good to have you and the rest of the panelists. Looking forward to talking good thoughts.
All right. I see two independent ladies here, comfortably seated. They are smart. Let's start with Glendy. Glendy, how you doing? You are muted, Glendy.
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. Lots and lots are happening. It's almost like the quiet storm is rising.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be an exciting evening because we know Jerome is here with all of the stories. So it's good to be here.
Thank you. And you are here to own your carnival?
Yes, of course,
Thank you.
as always.
I like that. I think you always accusing him of being a spin doctor.
He is. He is.
Also seated is Ale Wilson Mamba. How you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Sieh. It's always wonderful to be on this platform, discussing with my fellow panelists and looking at what's going on in Liberia. Seems like everybody's nervous, don't know what's going to happen. Is it a football that's going to be broken into anywhere? We don't know. So we're here to talk about it.
Thank you. The veteran J. Victor Namwe has been around Liberian politics. He's a great communicator. He's from the CPP, by the way. It's good to have you, big brother.
It's good to be back, man. And the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. You think you guys going to win this thing?
That's how we feel.
All right. All right. Well, he is known as Mr. Jerome Gilman. He doesn't apologize for his views. He is a citizen. We call him the unrelenting, unbending, uncompromising citizen. How you doing, my good friend?
Thank you very much for having me. I am here. I got my red bottom shoes ready to go for the inauguration of President George Manning. We are for his second term, come January 24, 2024. Thank you very much for having me.
I don't see your purple cup anymore. Is it out of Sacomoran juice or something?
No, it has been elevated to a steel. There you go. It's all steel now. That tells you.
What's in it?
Our God used to say, we got it in the steel cage. It's locked in a box. We're ready to rock and roll.
I hope there are no kush drink in our cupboard.
Don't worry about it. We're pushing it.
I hope my friend Mame will not be coming there with his broom revolution to see how you got that cup.
whatever is in it, Megan talk all.
I know, right?
All right, folks in cyberspace. We want to say a pleasant welcome to Friday Night Debate here at Focus on Liberia. My name is Ansony, Sieh, moderating in this debate. This is current issue debate, by the way. The first issue on our menu here, debaters, is the U.S. government threatening yet another visa ban, and this time they are saying it will be targeted at individuals who might be contemplating or planning to rig the upcoming election. Let me start with you, Jimmy. You are from the nation's capital. That is the city of politics. What is Uncle Sam up to here? Is there anything to worry about, my friend? You are muted, Jimmy. Jimmy, you are still muted. What's going on, Jimmy? Jimmy, what did you do? All right, Jimmy, we'll leave you alone. We'll go to Jerome Gilman. Mr. Gilman, you've been around politics. U.S. politics is not strange to you. And talk to me. Is anything that you know that Okusen is up to here? Or is this just trying to scare people? Or is it that they smell something? We know the U.S. government to be strong when it comes to intelligence. They might have seen something. They might have heard something. They might have suspected something for which they are threatening individuals with visa ban. What do you think they are up to here?
Well, the politics in Liberia a very peculiar one, but one that has interest to the United States interest and the U.S. government, seeing what's happening in the region and around the world, that the West is under siege. And never in the history of Liberia have we ever seen that a political party a major political party had gone on the attack, the violence from the very beginning, from the lowest ebb of the political party to its tenor bearer, are threatening, making remarks that are unprecedented, undiplomatic, unpolitical. For some reason, the United States decided that it was time for them to chime in. They have been absent from the political scene. They wanted to see the Liberian people duke this out plainly. But when you hear the surrogates of the party, the so-called godfather of the party, Prince Johnson, and his godson, Mr. Cohn, the spokesperson for the party, Mr. Mo Ali, and the likes, and then Joseph Boakai himself saying that if he's not elected, basically, and they find or feel that they are cheated, he will blow the country up per se. He said the country will end. When we are looking at things around the world, when someone tells you that they live in the country, yet they are willing to end the country, to many people it sounds like a suicide bomber who says, I'm going to blow it up, including myself. Or a jealous boyfriend or girlfriend that says, if I don't have this woman, nobody else is going to have her, killing her and then maybe killing himself. Those are the circumstances under which the United States decided it was time to get involved, to lay the warning. And then to some, if you are Joseph Boakai in your 90s, when there is no more tomorrow for you, visa ban means nothing to you. Today is the future for Joseph Boakai. So for them, it's a do or die. There is no tomorrow. Visa ban means very little to the likes of Joseph Boakai.
Thank you.
We are here to see what happened, but I think the United States mean business.
Jimmy, do you agree with Mr. Gilman assertion of how he sees his only visa ban thing threatened by the U.S. government?
Well, definitely the U.S. Is trying to show that they very much concerned about the Liberian elections. Right now, the Undersecretary of State is visiting Liberia, Michael Heath, and he reiterating the same things Blinken said, but he did commend, in his own words, he did commend the We Are government for their commitment to a transparent democratic process. So as for the visa ban in itself, I think only those who frequently go to the U.S. will be concerned about that. People who have their assets in the U.S., those are the only ones going to be concerned about that. So how effective that is going to be is yet to see. But I think it does also show that the U.S. government is taking note of everything that's going on, including some of the provocative statements we're hearing coming from leadership in the various parties. It is alarming, and it's, to me, it shows lack of leadership, because as Mr. Gaiman was mentioning just now, that the statement by the standard bearer of the Unity Party that it would end Liberia if they're allowed to steal the election was reiterated by Representative Goloba today. And he said by any means, so everything's on the table as far as he's concerned. The VP came back and tried to polish it a little bit, try to say that his intention, what his actually was meaning, but the statement in itself, left alone, it was wide open for interpretation. And now we see it has stimulated or motivated other people to say that if these elections are not in their favor, then they're willing to do other things instead. And that should never be an option for a democratic state. Going to war, going to picking up arms, conflict, that is not an option. So we clearly see why the U.S. has keen interest in what's going on, because there's some things that are very, very irresponsible that may have some serious repercussions if we're not very, very careful. As we saw today, there's been some violence in Lofa, in Foya, and it's already beginning to manifest itself. I think we all need to be alarmed whenever we hear these statements, and these statements need to be decried. And unfortunately, if I will end, I do not see them being decried. I do not see when Prince Johnson makes certain kind of statements, which talking about going back to the bushes, that should have been a signal for the leaderships in the various parties to condemn. And we haven't seen that. So the U.S. is very, very concerned about what's going on now, and it's troubling for everybody.
And Mr. Namwe, if you can mute yourself there, are there very legitimate and concerning reasons why the U.S. would threaten any such visa ban? And on the diplomatic side, though, are they just trying to show muscles here in trying to do something that may not actually have any meaningful impact here? Or what do you think?
No, I really think the U.S. government is trying to nudge our leaders, back in the middle, because I think a number of them are going to the extreme. I mean, Jimmy alluded to what happened today in Lofa. That was not an accident. What happened in Lofa today is directly related to the comments and statements coming out of the UP over the past few days, which I think is reckless and very irresponsible. There are remedies in the Constitution to address such concerns. I don't think the leader of the party should mount the podium and talk about ending the country. So I think the U.S. has legitimate concerns. If you notice the statement that the embassy, the secretary issued, there's nothing said about rigging elections. Nothing. And we all know these people have eyes and ears. But their concern is utterances that will threaten the process. That is what concerns them. And so I really, really think the vice president, former vice president, he really needs to process his thoughts before they come out. He needs to process his thoughts before they come out, because he is, all pun intended, he is the wisest man right now in the race. He is the oldest, so he is the wisest. But he
should be, or he is. Mr. Number, is he really is or should be?
He is the oldest in the race. I don't think there's anyone older than him.
So it's automatic. Once you are the oldest, you are the wisest, right?
Well, you know what I was it, right? Age comes with wisdom. So he should be wise. Okay. He should be wise, but his utterances really leave much to be desired. And then every now and then he would try to take it back. And it is too late. And I really don't think what he means to take it back, because the effect is already happening. It's a dog whistle. He has his combatant pals that are hanging out with him. He has Joshua Milton Blight, a guy who admitted to killing over 20,000 people. That's his friend. Prince Johnson, a general who occupied all of Caldwell. That's his friend. And so when he's making these kinds of calls, he is rallying the troops. It is not a mistake. So I think the U.S. government has legitimate concerns to try to.
And Mr. Namwe, I want you to learn on this. Allow me here, sir. I agree with you. They have legitimate concerns, because when utterances are coming from political actors, in this manner, their supporters can act on this kind of statement, right? So let's look at it politically and squarely. Joseph Boakai has Prince Johnson. Now we have General Bodneke. Yeka Kaluba had another loudmouth. These individuals threatening them with visa restriction. I don't see how it even stop them. I don't think they have any interest to come to the United States anyway.
Well,
that's all
they may not.
But
they may not, but this statement covers relatives as well. I tell you this. Apostle Joshua Milton Blight may not want to come to the States, but he has kids who want to come to the States. He has cousins. He has relatives. And so I'm not really going to take. I'm not going to downplay this. I think it's going to be impactful, and we'll see what happens over the next few days. But I really think it will be impactful.
All right, thank you, Ms. Trace Wallet Bomba. We're talking visa ban. That's an announcement from the U.S. And I'm getting to understand now that it's because of this statement coming from political leaders that can, take us into election violence. So they're trying to warn them. And the only thing they have in their arsenal is what? Would not give you visa? What do you make of all this?
I think it's a right step in the right direction because, you might say somebody like Joshua Blight doesn't have interest, coming to the United States. We cannot say that. If he has the opportunity to come to the United States, he will surely come to the United States. And many people that get elected to the offices in Liberia that want to make United States their first visit. United States is attached to Liberia. So no matter what, people will want to come. Their families will want to come. They want to tell the American story when they go back home. They want to sit in their offices knowing that they have traveled to the most talked about country in the world. So yes, they have interest coming. So if the United States government is threatening with visa ban, it is something that will be impactful to those who are planning to either destabilize the elections process or cause violent behavior that will destabilize the process. So there's a right step in the right direction. And talking about leaders making reckless statements, we should not forget also that we have Liberians saying, you have you utter a word, it has definition, interpretation, and later interpretation. So if somebody says that would be the end of Liberia, well, many people can interpret the way they want, but this is something that people can say, randomly in Liberia. You can, if you don't do this, that will be your end. It doesn't mean that the person is going to die or the person will not exist. It means that you're going to be, degenerating into a bad situation. So, for instance, if a bag of rice is what, $50 today, and maybe in his own view he could have done better, and you don't elect him, tomorrow it could be $100. So we can't run with statements because somebody made them, and we think the person is an opposition and want to, turn the whole thing to be like, oh, Liberia will not exist because the guy says so. What is he gonna do to make Liberia to end? Even Charles said that they not made Liberia to cease existence. Who else can do? So we have to look at it like Liberians. Yeah, I understand he has some supporters that may not understand what he's talking about.
And that is the danger, Willie. And if you allow me, if you allow me to throw something in there, I remember a U.S. Representative, I think the name is Gabby Gayford, if I'm not mistaken, from the state of Arizona. And somebody from the Sarah Palin side, Sarah Palin said something, and because of that, a supporter of Sarah Palin acted and shot that lawmaker. And today, she can continue to do her job. So your supporter, a supporter of yours, might act on
that's exactly what I'm saying.
And that's the point. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So those are the people that understand what he's talking about, that know that it is a saying. Most people say these things, and they don't mean anything. They should be able to, express in their own opinion what he's talking about instead of inflaming the whole situation so that other supporters might hear it and think that literally it means that Liberia should end.
And that is why these leaders should be careful what they say. The leaders should be careful what they say, especially, an election like this one where tensions are very high.
What I said, leaders should be mindful how, they author statements that might be reckless.
Thank you.
But at the same time, as Liberians, we should understand that certain things we say that don't mean how people are interpret. What if there were 9 elections coming up? And somebody say, oh, the person doesn't do this, it will be the end of Liberia. You're not going to blame them for saying that, because this is something people are always saying. So we should not capitalize on it now because Joseph Boakai is running for office and he's saying this stuff. So we want to make it to look like he's the one that's going to bring what? Tsunami that will end Monrovia or Liberia.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw Aliu clapping for you there. It's like you were doing a piece of job for him. But hold your peace. I'm not ready for you. Mr. Mame, I want you to give me 2 things here. Talk to me about diplomacy and give me the politics of this whole visa thing. From the Gongloe side, do you welcome this? What is the politics of it, and what is the diplomacy about this?
I think Liberian people should stand up and ensure accountability in the electoral process.
Okay.
Liberians should stand up and protect the votes. Liberians should stand up and ensure the election is credible. We welcome the statement from the US, but it's not really the solution to the problem. In as much as, we welcome aid, trying to help, but it's a condemnation of our country and our government that we cannot conduct election peacefully. We cannot conduct ourselves in a manner that represents what we claim to be, that the US will have to threaten us with visa restriction to put us in order. It's a repudiation of the state. But it is necessary, though, and the reason why it is necessary, we can count, several reasons why it is important to do that. You go across the country, some of us who have the time to talk to people at different levels, the only campaign message the CDC has, the strongest campaign message they have to bring people on their side is, my man, I don't care what you do, we'll win the election. Don't worry, count on our side. That's what CDC is telling people. Oh, my man, forget about that thing. Ellen Lee, Joe Boakai be president. We'll change that thing around. But then we'll tell them about Joe Boakai is not the only candidate in the race. CDC's prime campaign message is, Unity Party cheated all 2 times. This is our time to cheat them. We have taken that message and even inserted it into media institutions. Media managers are posting that on their Facebook pages. But we sat in this country, we saw CDC cheat, United Party cheat CDC 2 times. What else you want CDC to do? I'm saying this to say that with the trend of events and things that have been happening, it gave anyone who have interest in the democracy of our country to be concerned that there is a need to put in place different mechanisms. So yes, the US statement from our end, something we appreciate, but we don't see as a solution to the problem. The solution lies with us. We, the Liberian people, should stand up, protect our votes, and ensure that democracy prevails. This whole statement about if somebody cheat the election, something will happen. This is what I can say. If I told anybody on this radio show that if you drank acid water, you will die, I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you the consequence of your action. That's not a threat. But as responsible political parties and political leaders, knowing the consequence of your statement and the type of followings you have on sophisticated society, it is only advisable to make statements that do not inflame the situation in the country. We know when elections are rigged, there will be consequences. I will not be a Gongloe supporter and see that the election is rigged from me. People stand in the line and vote for Gongloe to be president for Liberia. And the number show Gongloe win this number and somebody go and call different person as the winner and you expect me to be drinking ice cream. There will be consequences. How people intend to communicate those consequences is where we come in and say, You need to be labor responsible. You need to calm down. You need to reduce the tension. But yes, if Gongloe wins the election and you announce Cummins as president because you like him, there will be consequences. So let's be clear on that. What we should be doing is, how do we ensure that the election is not rigged? Instead of fighting and looking at what the consequences will be, let's stop the election from being rigged. All political parties, if George Weah wins the election and you go ahead now, Joseph Boakai a winner, there will be consequences. So let us all work as political parties to ensure check and balance, ensure the election is free, credible, and transparent, so there can be no consequences of somebody cheating. You cheat George Weah, you go to Boakai, there will be consequence. You cheat Boakai, you go to George Weah, there will be consequence. You cheat Gongloe, you go to Cummins, there will be consequence. That's how I will see it.
Thank you. And Glendy, as an African, and you see a statement coming from a Westerner, that statement also suggests, in my opinion, that these people are not able to govern themselves as they should. And saying as much as they are not conducting themselves well, we will issue a threat to tell them that you ought to know better and you should be able to conduct yourself properly as leaders. From that perspective, what do you make of this all?
I think I want to follow up what Mohammed said. I think it should be a disgrace to us. Mm-hmm. It should be a disgrace. I mean, Sierra Leone just had the elections, and look at all the noise that's behind it. Mm-hmm. Look at what they've done also to Sierra Leone. Like, we may look at it as not having an impact now, or we may think that that's not going to do anything to me because I don't want to go to America. So if they ban me, so what? But it has the potential to extend to other countries. It also has the potential to extend to various allies that we have. So this is concerning that even after so many elections, even after 2017, now coming 2023, America still has to extend its hand and almost have to try to redirect us to say, listen, you're falling off track. And the policy has a lot of things in it. It's not just about elections. It talks about people who are disseminating their views and that's going to affect other people's views. It talks about people who will influence the elections. There's so many things in it. So I think for us as Liberians, it's almost like, when does it get better? Are we even better than where we were 10 or 20 years ago? Why is it that we cannot do something that we are proud of and do it correctly, so that no one has to come and put their hand in it or have to say something before it's done right? It's almost like America is looking over our shoulders, and they constantly have to look over our shoulders because we are almost irresponsible. And it's important too. I want to disagree with what Welle said about the statement VB Bergam, but we understand that there are statements that people make at different times. But this is election time. And what that means is political leaders need to be careful and need to exercise some form of restraint to avoid misinterpretations of things they might say, which will have the potential of creating more chaos. So I get it. Anybody can say what he said, and he may try. And the thing about it, if the statement was not a bit irresponsible, he wouldn't need to clarify it. Let's just say it as it is. If it was something that was clear cut, something that did not have the potential to indicate violence, he wouldn't need to clarify it. So why make those statements that are going to continue to make us look like we don't know what we're doing? For example, the Elections Commission. Why will Unity Party have to go to court? Why, if they have to produce the FRR, why didn't they produce it? Why up to now they haven't produced it? That's some level of incompetence. So it's like, how do we continue to want better for our country and not do better? So it's sad. People may look at it like I was listening to Yaka to Representative Koluba today. He was talking plenty of things. Because like you said, he probably doesn't care. He doesn't want to come to America. It doesn't impact him. It doesn't affect him. But we also have to be careful of the things we say, especially during these times, with what we have seen today and what has happened today in FOIA. So I think it's shameful that America always has to extend a voice, an outside voice, or say my hand is watching over you. I think it's irresponsible of us Liberians, and to think that it's okay that someone has to always redirect our focus is not correct.
And Mr. Gongloe, why, in your opinion, are some legitimate reasons that prompted this statement from the Secretary of State of the United States of America?
What first, before I say anything, let me just clarify this. On this show, I'm a panelist from the Tough Talking Thursday. Here, I don't represent Gongloe. I'm a Gongloe supporter, no doubt. Ambla Miami is the official spokesman of the Gongloe team on all of the platforms, POOM and FOL, okay? So what I say here is basically mind thinking, okay? I may, so don't see it like if I disagree maybe with something that Miami say, it means the Gongloe people are clashing. It's really my view. But here's what I will say. You know, it's a politics of this whole visa ban. I don't quite, like Miami said, we welcome that. It is a good thing for all the countries are members of the international community. You must conform to certain business standards. So those are all measures meant to actually keep country in check and balance. I mean, so no question about that. But in the case of Liberia, I think the real issue is, and this is why I'm really disappointed in the US. The real issue is it should not be about a visa ban. After the Civil War, where the United States government spent more than $1 billion in different relief forms through the USAID, contribution to UN, contribution to peacekeeping efforts, more than $1 billion. When the UP came to power, I expected a tougher action from the UN. This visa ban, they probably would have imposed that on Joseph Boakai, on Ellen Johnson, Sieh, and others not to visit the US until they ensure that there is accountability in Liberia. They trash away the TRC report. Okay? They trash away, they step over, they put the TRC report in the trash bin. So I see the visa ban as mere posturing, not a real issue. Okay? The reality is there is a culture of impunity in Liberia that predates even the Unity Party. But the Unity Party, as a democratically elected government, imposed war Liberia much was expected. Particularly a government headed by the first female president, elected president of Africa. More was expected. They trashed all attempts to ensure rule of law. The Unity Party stepped on it. Okay? I have my own experience with Joseph Boakai that I may not want to go into here. When Amra Kone was sacked by the Senate, when Councillor Gongloe decided you would defend the constitutional issue in that case, Boakai said he wanted Amra Kone to write a letter of apology to the Senate to avoid a confrontation. He sees disagreement on constitutional matter as confrontation, as confusion. And that was buried under the So there is a difference. So even we're talking about violence today, the Lofa violence, I'm surprised that we're even talking about this. Just about roughly a month ago, somebody lost his life in Nima. I don't know if any of you didn't hear about this. Because it happened probably, in a remote area in District 4, which is the Tua River, a district that includes Boplay, Gompu Kagon home and what have you. There was violence there. Jeremiah Cousin is today in jail in Sanokole for killing Garrison Yelu supporter. That case is there. That's a violence that Prince Johnson claimed his car was stolen in Gompuka gone home. That's electoral violence. Actual death occurred. And that person is in jail today in Sanukole. The perpetrators are in jail. We didn't talk about that. The press did not pick that up. The U.S. banned. In as much as, for me, I see as a mere posturing. The real issue is how the international community has actually walked away from Liberia, holding Liberia accountable to
and so that, Mr. Gongloe, that begs the issue, the question, if what they have issued, this threat of a visa ban, is just mere posturing, in your opinion, what could have been a more effective way of preventing anything that they fear or sense for which they have to come up with a statement?
Well, Joseph Boakai could be, I believe he has some assets in the U.S. He's introduced electoral violence, basically. He's a leader of the largest opposition party in Liberia, and his statement, what he says matter. And the timing of what he says matter. Let's look at the trend. Mo Ali was the first to speak about violence. Councillor Gongloe held a press conference and condemned Mo Ali's statement and called on Joe Boakai to distance himself from Mo Ali. Joe Boakai doubled down. This statement that came out, he made a statement in Banga. It was not a statement that just came out recently. He made a statement in Banga. That was after Councillor Gongloe called on him to distance himself from Mo Ali. He came out with more violent talk. Then Prince Johnson. Then General Bodnegu Nako is a rescue soldier. I watched your interview with him. So it is a trend. Then Yega Kolba, an ally of the Unity Party. So it's a trend. So the talks of violence, the talks of any Liberia wrecking, violence and havoc on peaceful citizens is coming from one camp, but only one camp. But don't get it wrong. There is a culture of violence here. Let's go back to history. Under the Unity Party, G.D. Gibson students were demonstrating when MCSA teachers were on strike. The 9 and 12 graders. What did the police do? They brutalized them. University of Liberia students were demonstrating. What did the police do? They brutalized them. Shaka Kamara in West Point, during Ebola, the record is there. November 7, preparation for second round election at the CDC headquarters. 1 person dead. No accountability. Nobody was accountable for these things. Freeport demonstration. In fact, the G.D. Gibson demonstration, Councillor Gongloe was the chair of that investigation panel and reported to the president on what measures to take. There was no action taken. So there's a culture of impunity that people feel emboldened to do anything in Liberia because there's no accountability. And I think this is where the international community has let us down. If you want to do visa ban, that's just a little thing.
Thank you, Mr. Gongloe. Ali Kamara, I saw you cracking up there, and I think Mr. Gongloe was strong. You have to do some cleaning up here. What's your take on the whole issue?
No, the man's a poor communicator. I gotta do no. See, I'm glad whoever made a decision to keep the guy far away from the Gongloe campaign, they did a pretty good job. Everything that he's saying here, if I try to be robust, then I'll go against my senior uncle, Tawan Gongloe, someone I admire very heavily. All these things the guy explaining. Did you know that this guy and all other people he's talking about were in the same government? But anyway, so let me just say something. You and I said something the other time, and when you said that I was alluding that Mame was smarter than me. You know what? I will come up and say, yes, you were right. I was alluding to that. Mame's ability to expand on the issue is better than me. I don't have that patience. And I really admire the manner in which he conducts his exposés. He's objective in as much he has a side. He tries to be as truthful as possible. You and Mame on a platform, all you get there is cordiality. There's no like Caleb talking all kind of thing here. They ask him one question, you can't even answer it. But what brought me to the show? I know I got this link sent last night. I was laying down my foot in the air. I wanted to really lay back and enjoy the show until I heard my uncle talk. You know the guy, they call Jerome Gilman, talking about, are you just throwing off and I think I got so interesting. I said, no, I got to get back on the show. You understand what I'm saying? But what's interesting about this whole conversation is the guy, again, another big bro from the ANC camp, they may take the whole visa thing and put it on the United Party. All the visa thing the American talking about is going to the United Party. Even though in that dossier, they discuss people trying to turn the election in their favor. How can an opposition political party turn election in their favor against the incumbent? They didn't say that. They got another big brother here you call your what you call him? You say he's neutral? Jimmy Eastman. This is the most biased person you're seeing on social media who put it in Syria. You will not understand what you would think he's talking something Syria. But he's actually too biased. You understand what I'm telling you? The statement Joseph Boakai made, the Unity Party did not retract the statement. The Unity Party clarified the statement, not for Jimmy Eastman, not for Victor Nangbe, not for Gongloe on the Sunday. The Unity Party clarified this for the average Liberian people. Prior to Joseph Boakai making this statement, he made this statement on True FM, but on Nangbe station, True FM. He was there, he made that statement. That if George Weah were to retain his status as president for another 6 years, Liberia will be finished. On that day, was Joseph Boakai talking about bombing the entire country? No. So all the things you're doing up and down, you know, Joseph Boakai said this, the American people looking at Joseph Boakai, you know, I will tell you,
we have a number 2 person here. Jerry Gilman has a partner. Ali
Kamara there, a supporter. Hold on, Glendy. Let me come to Comrade Mohammed Sharif, focus on liberal political analyst. Comrade Sharif, I want you to go to a little bit of history on this subject of, you know, visa restriction or ban from the U.S. government, and giving a Pan-African perspective to why do we always have to have Westerners, you know, trying to somehow inject themselves and making statements in our elections? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, so it's a very good topic to discuss, and your question is very good. Likewise, so I want to disagree with Comrade Gongloe on this issue. We cannot sit around as Liberians to allow the United States, the European Union, to dictate for us what we can do for ourselves. Too often, Liberians have relied, including the human rights advocate in this election, in the person of Councillor Tiawan Gongloe, his reliance on these kinds of United States sanctions is baffling to me, because, you know, he was, mind you, Councillor Gongloe was a student activist at the University of Liberia. So he didn't just start now being he didn't just start today. And so it's baffling to me that he is in agreement with the United States government on this. I'm in disagreement. Because we cannot be run by foreign powers. We have to make sure that we ourselves control our own destiny. And so what is going on is visa sanction, right? So this is, to me, a warning to the ruling elite. I think more than the opposition, because if you look at what's going on now, and I said it before, George Weah intends to steal this election. If he's not going to get it democratically, believe me, he's going to try to steal this election. And he has all the resources to steal the election. He has the money to steal the election. He has the manpower to steal the election. He may not have, enough. He may himself may not have the knowledge to do some of this, but he has the people around him enough people around him to steal this election. And so that is concerning to me. We cannot depend on the United States to do for us what we can do for ourselves. It's time that, you have opposition legislators legislators who need to take their responsibility seriously. They need to make sure that the right thing has been done. You have the judiciary that has to take their responsibility seriously. I'm happy that the opposition went to the Supreme Court to request a writ of mandamus on the Elections Commission. So that's a starter. But look at what's going on now. We only have barely 2 weeks to this election. So when is the writ of mandamus going to be issued on a very recalcitrant Elections Commission? And so I believe right now where we sit that George Weah is going to steal this election. And I'm afraid that, with the West African region being in tatters, militarily with all these, military regimes popping up, it is a scary time for Liberia. So while we discuss this, we also have to look in that direction as well and try to make sure that we're not visited by some, unconstitutional groups that's going to come in under the guise of fixing Liberia. And so that's probably what we're looking at down the road.
Can I come in for a second, please?
No, we have so many issues, so we're going to go to the next issue there. You have made your summation. We have so many issues, and I think we're going to blend the issues together. We treat them one by one. We may not be able to exhaust them, and my goal here is to make sure that they are all exhausted. We have Liberians who are listening. They want to get your perspective on the issues. Focus on Liberia. My name is Ansony, Sieh, moderating in this Friday night debate, and we are debating current issue. On our menu next, CPP launches a 2023 campaign on October 1st, to be followed by Councillor Tiawan Gongloe criticizes VP Joseph Boakai. And we're also going to talk about the Ruling Unity Party ran to the Supreme Court to pray for the writ of mandamus to compel the National Election Commission to release the FFR. And Joseph Boakai this time clarifies one of his many statements. He's saying when he said that will be the end of Liberia, he didn't mean the country will end militarily or by violence or by any means. By that he meant we will not have a democracy. We will not have a functioning country that will provide all the basic services. And I'm paraphrasing him here. And don't forget, the Barrow Medicine now campaigns with a helicopter. Jerome Gamer is here to clean it up. Let's get to business. If you forget the issue I just listed, I will remind you so you can comment, and then I want us to go into them one by one. Well, let's start with you. Your brother Joshua got one helicopter. Your take on that one?
Well, I'm from southeastern Liberia, and so I'm already upset that the roads leading to the southeast, after 6 years, my brother, who is from the southeast, is not able to have that road paved. I mean, just use the machines to clean it up for the citizens. And to see that he has a helicopter. Somebody told me that the helicopter worth 3-point-something million. Are you kidding me? And nobody can travel the road to go run camping? That is not settling down well with me. Even if I love my brother, I'm not going to be happy.
But well, he's by road medicine, right? So
you can't be by road medicine when the road is flying over
the road now can't touch it. The mud can't touch it.
Well, let me tell you
something.
Road
medicine we're talking
there
about.
There are towns and villages along that bad road.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to carry a helicopter in every village? As somebody from the southeast, you want to see your old people where the plane cannot go? Do you think this is something that will settle down well with the people? I don't think so.
Well, this is campaign time, though. Well, if I may here, this is campaign time. there are some individuals in Liberia, for some reason, some strange reason for that matter, when they see the president with the helicopter, they imagine that their life might be like the life of the president flying a helicopter. This is campaign psychology. Don't you think he's doing the right thing to win here? Or he's going to come and bite him?
It's not about winning alone. It's about doing what is good for the people.
Okay.
I think the purpose of leading the people is to ensure that they benefit from the resources, that their lives are improved. And so if you want to use helicopter to attract votes, after the election, what next? They're going to stay in the same conditions? I listened to the VP Boakai, incoming vice president, and he talked about passing through Ivory Coast and each car.
Are you sure he's incoming, Wale?
Yes, she's right. She's right.
No. Well, listen, I said the VP who is there incoming. All right. So, but my point is, the main point I'm trying to strike is, he stated that each car that he took from Liberia to pass through Ivory Coast to get to Harper, he had to pay $100 US for each car. So if you carry 5 cars, that's just $500 wasted. When you could have used the main road, had it been paved to go to whichever county in the southeast that he needed to visit. I don't think it's a good strategy. I mean, other little people might see it as something good, to go and cast their votes. But again, what improvement is it to their lives?
Thank you. Mr. Gitman, your government promised all the coastal highway. Our president adopted the name Mr. Barrow Medicine. What has happened to Mr. Barrow Medicine now he's flying over the roads?
Oh, thank you very much. I think you listened to the president maybe several years ago.
Are you trying to spin?
Exactly. That's what he does the best.
Okay, go ahead, sir. You are protected.
The president told you, he said,
he's trying to find his bearing. Right now, he's off balance.
The man is protected. The man is protected.
We got limited time.
You protect the man. You protect the man.
This is how you got.
Mr. Gitman is protected. Fellow panelists, please. Mr. Gitman is protected. Go ahead, Mr. Gitman.
The president said it to you guys several years ago. Our nation has been in this form since 1822. It will take time. And the president made it clear that have I, now president of the Republic of Liberia, with a choice, I would rather begin in a place where we have a critical mass, like the Nimas of the world, the Bon Counties of the world, the Moderators of the world, and then we will spread out. So for you to say, because the president is from Grand Cru, where the population is about 60,000 people in the entire county, we should build a superhighway and leave out Nima County that has 308,000 people. Most of them have almost 2 million people.
That is an entire region of the country, Mr. Gitman. Mr. Gitman, hold on. Mr. Gitman, I'm moderating. That is an entire region of the country that gets cut off every reading season, every time, every year, since generation, if I can put it that way. Why don't you think it is an urgency?
Well, listen, when you have a budget, a nation of almost 5.3 million people, and you have a budget of $800,000, which is nothing. And when you talk about everything else, it makes sense, though, that if you are going to deal with issues, you deal with the more populated area. This is not Tottenham, where you go and develop a Kepamas, and then to get to Kepamas, you have to take a boat, your yacht, and go around. So we are talking about the road that have been built in the Nima area. Now we are headed to Grand Gideon, which is
the difference between Tottenham and Weah is a helicopter, right?
Well, listen, listen to this. Joseph Walker had helicopter the last election. Joseph Walker had helicopter the last election.
The road to the southeast.
Excuse me.
Okay.
We are talking facts here. The last election, Joseph Walker had a helicopter. John Weah had a helicopter. Now, this is where I'm going to agree with you. that the power of incumbency makes it almost unfair and uneven when it comes to resources. In that, I agree with you that the Liberty Party or the opposition party, all of them combined, will not have the resources that the incumbent has. But this is what we are talking about. So yes, the president uses the helicopter to cover more ground in a very short period of time, as Joseph Boakai did in 2016, as Ellen Johnson did when she was in power. It just makes sense. That's why in this country, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party agree that it is not fair that the incumbent is using Air Force One everywhere he goes, and the challenger has nothing. You know, they're driving their own car except from.
Well, the roads are good.
So this is what we are talking about. There is something called a bullet pulpit. When you are in power, when you are incumbent, these are privileges that come with the office of the presidency. So yes, the president has the power to retain the helicopter that he used in 2016. I'm sorry that Joseph Boakai does not have the resources to maintain what he had in 2016. And if he has to walk, so be it. That's what this is all about. But when it comes to the road, building a road.
Are you admitting that President Weah has these resources to his disposal because he's the president, and
he's an incumbent,
which means that he's just taking them away anyway because
no. The man is the president. Wherever the president goes, the incumbency, the privileges of being.
But the example you gave of the U.S. government, the Air Force One is assigned to the United States president. This helicopter was not given to President Weah by the Republic of Liberia as a government for the use of the president.
Yeah, I'm making the equivalent that when you are incumbent, there are privileges that goes along with that position.
So incur additional expenses.
Excuse me. When Ellen was president, she used a helicopter. When Joseph Boakai was vice president, he used a helicopter. The helicopter Joseph Boakai used in 2016, it was not assigned to him by the Republic. He was an incumbent. Joe Weah is using the same pulpit, the same privileges, the same honor. That's
so
what
are you saying if one government does the wrong thing, it should be repeated because the next person did it before?
No, we're not saying
I can't really get the analogy.
It wasn't wrong then, and it's not wrong now. If you can afford it, do it.
But the roads were good. I went to
thank you, Mr. Gimmon.
Monrovia to Harper.
Mr. Gimmon, it's obvious that if you had succeeded with the coastal highway, you wouldn't have to use the helicopter.
Thank you.
Use that road to be able to visit every hamlet along the road as you campaign. Let me bring in Mr. Aliu Kamara. Aliu, if Mr. Gimmon is right, the United Party used helicopter when it was in power to campaign. So what have you to say to George Weah now that he's doing what Joseph Boakai and the United Party that you support today did a few years ago?
You have to be very careful with any facts coming from Mr. Gilman. Joseph Boakai
use the word if he's right, so go ahead.
No, but I'm not saying you agree. I'm saying don't. All right? Look, Joseph Boakai did use helicopter in the 2017 election. But imagine somebody saying because Joseph Boakai was on a Cuban, that's why he was using helicopter. When his boss, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, vowed that he was not going to become president. Do you really think Ellen was going to give Joseph Boakai a helicopter? Joseph Boakai got a helicopter that it had nothing to do with government proceeds. Can we see the same thing about George Weah? But let's talk about the role a little bit here for the Southeast. Like this, you see, this is why women are my favorite people. The people get sense. And I think Mr. Gilman should follow suit. Try to learn from the women. Listen, the road to Cape Palmas when Joseph Boakai was running to be president, that road was clear that people could have driven on. Today, you cannot go on that road even if you have an 18-wheeler. You cannot compare the two. Okay, so the excuse now is, oh, we got $800 million budget. But you have $800 million budget when you took $30 million out and said it was for stimulus. $30 million went in thin air. That $30 million, if you think about today's standard and I put everything, all the corruption into account, that's 30 miles of road. Completely paid. 30 miles of road. You didn't do that. You had your finance minister with suitcase on your back, with book bag on your back, with US dollar inside. He said, carrying from money changer to money changer. What What financial training, what economic skill anywhere in the world that give finance minister the ability to put millions in backpack and put it on his back and go change it on the car road, on the street, in the street corners? That money went in thin air. If we go by his argument, he said only 17 million. That's 17 miles of road. Add that to the 30 miles. You know, this few time we're paying $75 to and fro whenever we went to Liberia. You guys were exploiting COVID-19. Guess what you did with that money? I saw the road you built from Congo Town to Shofi Express, former Shofi Express, a place where you were using. That place is less than quarter of a mile. You collected a couple of millions and you repave. You didn't build road. You repave less than quarter of a mile road. You are telling us here that you don't have money to build road to the southeast. The mistake you're making, you look at Grand Crew and think it's the southeast. The southeast has to be connected to the central part of the country. Your county, Grand Bassa County, should connect to Riverside. Riverside should connect to Barclayville. Barclayville should connect to Greenville. Those are small, small distances, not even very far. You just have to do the connection. You took that money, you did something else with it. You travel with 55, 60 people to China at a time. You come back from China with no money, you only spend money there. You understand what I'm saying? You say $11 million for subsidies, for rice. $11 million cannot be found. You just misappropriate government money, use it any way you want. You got malfunctional government officials. You refuse to reshuffle. You suck, man. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif, Comrade Sharif, my friend. Liberia's president has been flying private jet now. It's obvious this is not enough for him. We see poverty on the faces of our people. It's campaign time. We see T-shirts, millions of T-shirts with his picture on them, and now a helicopter to go and talk to the people. If this is not some kind of insensitivity on the part of the president, what else can you term it to be? Is the president doing the right thing here?
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. So this is the reason why you don't elect people who, you know, everyone has their role. You know, George Weah's role has been very clear in the Liberian society. I thought, you know, I've lived long enough to see a George Weah who brought so much joy and you know, pride to us, you know, as refugees when he was playing in Europe. And so we used to run out there in these video clubs to watch George Weah play. And when he did, he brought pride to all Africans everywhere, not just Liberians, but people everywhere. So that's George Weah's place to me. And I'm not being elitist, right? So I'm not some kind of elitist analyst here. I'm just saying what it is, just keeping it 100. George Weah's place, to me, was defined by his skills on the soccer field. When you go from there to a politician, not just any other ordinary politician, but a presidential candidate, and when he ran his campaigns, not just in the 2017 election, but all of the campaigns that George Weah has run, he has not communicated anything to the Liberian people. It's amazing to me that despite the fact that George Weah has said nothing, he has done absolutely nothing, politically speaking, that tens of thousands of people, millions in fact, admire him to the extent that they awarded him the presidency of the Republic of Liberia. That tells you a lot about the nation state that we have. My late professor, Albert Dunn, may his soul rest in peace, who was murdered by the MPFL in 1990 or 1991, said that every people deserve the government that they get. What he was saying was that, you know, if you vote for a if you vote for a dictator, you're going to get everything that a dictator does. So don't tell me that what's occurring in the country. He was saying to university students at the time in his classroom. Don't tell me that everything that's going on now that you are unaware. Professor Dunn was speaking about 3 decades ago. So now here we are in 2023. These things are occurring before our very eyes. George Weah was elected by the Liberian people. George Weah has been very relevant in the Liberian political stratosphere for more than 10 years, maybe 2 decades, about 2 decades now. George Weah has been very, very relevant. Why is that? George Weah should not, in any other country, George Weah should not be relevant. Here are some of my reasons. Right now, as we sit here, the Southeast is a muddy mess. The entire country is a muddy mess. George Weah cannot go to...
Comrade Sherry, in all fairness, though, Liberia has been a country now for over 175 years. And the issue of the Southeast has been a problem that every government will have to combat and will not solve.
Where all the president came from.
So we can put all of this as George Weah's legs, right?
So where do we start to? At what point do we say, forget about all of this? Let's turn a new leaf now. Tubman, you didn't do this. Dole, Tolbert, you guys, Taylor, you were worse. You didn't do anything. Now is my time. When are we going to get the leader who is very patriotic, in the real sense of patriotic, not the patriotic of the Patriotic Front of Liberia? I'm talking about real patriots who will go into the country to not enrich themselves, like George Weah has done. What is the first thing that he did when he became president? He started to steal right away, right off the bat. He started to steal the resources of the country. He started to travel around the world, leaving people in Monrovia and parts of Liberia dying of diseases, ignorance and illiteracy and everything is going on in Liberia. And what is he doing? He's traveling. What did he do for the World Cup? He went to the World Cup and left Liberians, struggling. So what George Weah has done is almost criminal. So to me now, if I'm president, the first 90 days, George Weah and others have to be held accountable for the destruction, the economic degradation, the abyss. The country is in an abyss right now. But we're not going. I don't think we're going to get a revolutionary leader who's going to go in there to say on day one,
thank you,
we're going to hold these guys accountable, and that's what should happen. You know what's going to happen when that begins to happen? Other leaders, if someone sets the example right now, in 2024, bring these guys to court and something like that, hold them accountable, and people go to jail.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Maybe we will be on the right footing.
And I come to you, Jimmy. Will it be a good thing to ask for the source of the helicopter at this time?
Oh, very good.
And if so, who should be asking that question?
First of all, I noticed one thing. We tend to buy into rumors a lot without doing any critical analysis on our own. And just like Mr. Kamari, without doing any analysis, he says somebody is biased. But year goes. First of all, I don't believe that a helicopter was bought, because I come from a background in the aviation. It's not expedient to buy such a vehicle. Number one, we don't have Liberian pilots that can fly a helicopter. Number two, we don't have mechanics that can manage and maintain a helicopter. Number three, after these elections, does he get around? Does he need a helicopter to go to the various places? How much has he traveled that he needs a helicopter to go? So he's probably leasing this helicopter, first of all. So the analysis that he's bought a helicopter, let's throw that out the window. All right. And in politics, as we all know, you want to win. Now, I'm not sure if the helicopter is going to give him any boost, the extra morale, the fact that he's flying around. He is George Weah. He is the celebrity of Liberia. But when people can't eat, when people can't send their kids to school, when there are no hospitals, I don't think the helicopter is going to be enough for him to sail through. There are more pertinent issues that we need to deal with. So the fact that this helicopter thing has become a big deal, I think it's irrelevant. I think what is relevant is what are the choices to Liberians. But there's something else too. You know, people always refer to Liberia as 100 and some. I think there are two republics. This is a new republic. This is not the same Liberia republic from 100 and some more years ago. That republic was basically a very poor country, very poor and struggling to survive amongst colonial powers. This is a new era. This is a new Liberian and completely different. We need to stop comparing the old with the new. This is a different era. And what we have today is some Liberians never seen certain things at a standard. So they accept the certain mediocrity, whereas they can be way better. But what do they have to compare to? They see every day, there's since the war, there's still not enough electricity, there's not enough running water, all the buildings are being debilitated. We still have not come back to pre-war conditions. So when a Liberian goes to vote, what does he have to compare it? Somebody from the old era is telling him vote for him, even though this party was just in power and didn't do anything, and they're convincing him to vote for him. I think right now Liberia needs something new. We need a fresh shot. Okay, all this hocus pocus and floor is not going to do it. But how do we get the message to Liberians? How will they let them know that they deserve better? That what they see in front of them is not the only way. We see young kids, all they want to do is go to government so they can get money. That is their concept. Whereas private enterprise, nothing is being promoted in the country. And I don't see few candidates I hear talking that. So I think if Liberians going to want to change, they're going to have to look at different kinds of candidates that talk private enterprise instead of government being responsible for everything. That's how.
Can I come in at 1 minute?
And Jimmy, please make adjustment to your monitor there. You are too low there. We want to see your six-pack, Jimmy. Don't be afraid.
30 seconds.
No. We'll go to Victor Namwe. This whole issue about helicopter during campaign time is not new. It's more like it's almost like, you know, most major candidates in an election who can afford it will do it. So it's not new. This is now we are first time, in my opinion, you know, trying to have an aircraft, all right, to fly around during campaign time. UP did it. So is this going to cost the president the election or not? You are muted, Mr. Namwe.
Honestly, I don't know, Mr. Sieh, because we know our people, they like form over substance. I mean, Charles Taylor came in, he had the longest convoy or whatever it is, and you know, he got elected. But I think the reason why we're discussing the helicopter, I don't think it is about the helicopter as much as it is why is he using one. I mean, I sent you a photo here. I was trying to see if I could share just a piece of the road going to the southeast, Mr. Sieh. I sent it to you by messenger. Just because some of the Liberians may not be aware of what we experience from the southeast, right? Right now, to travel from the southeast, you have to go either through the Ivory Coast or you come through that road that I show you. People spend weeks on the road just coming to Monrovia. People die on that road. This president is not going to use that road. He is supposed to be the bad road medicine. You know, why is he running away from the road? Obviously, he cannot go through the Ivory Coast to go and campaign. That's why he's using the helicopter. So, you know, I mean, and this is why we continue to tell our people, you know, choose wisely. Do you want to continue the way you are today or the way you were yesterday, or you want a brighter future? You know? So I mean, I really don't know how this is gonna play in the campaign process. But I just want to also look at the reason why this person is because of his failure to apply his medicine evenly. You know, you rather, you know, pave 72nd road or something like that, you know, easy hanging fruits. You know, just like you said, the road to the southeast has been there. It has bedeviled presidents, you know, and so we had this son from the southeast who is a bad road medicine, and yet he's flying overhead to go to the southeast. That's a shame.
Yes.
And I hope our people will reward him for this.
Thank you.
I don't, you know, that's what I got to say about that. Thank you. You're muted.
Glendy, your turn, please.
I mean, I think everyone has said a little bit of what is the truth to this situation. I think that people should reward George Weah openly by not voting for him. Simple. I think it's a disgrace that he has to use a helicopter to go to his hometown. I think it's a disgrace. And I think also that he's going to use.
I'm sorry, man. This is the current piece of road to go to the southeast. You think President Weah is able to go through this? You see these people sitting here? They spend weeks on this road. Look at this thing on the side here. How can anybody pass here to go anywhere? Even motorbikes cannot traverse this road. This is the road to the southeast. This is what the president is avoiding.
Yeah, it's sad. It's just sad. And people should reward him. And what is even sad is that we understand that Mr. Kim is a spin master, but it has to get to a place where when we see the truth, we have to speak it, regardless of which side of the aisle we're on. The question was specific about the roads, and Mr. Gilman is taking us everywhere except talking about how is the president getting to the southeastern region. This is despicable. And then you use an alternative to like where they were saying to pass over the villages with a helicopter. So what the excitement would be now? Oh, the president came with a helicopter. That's the excitement. That's the promotion. Oh, he's up there. Look at him flying over us. And how does that help us or help the southeastern people? And he's from that region. And the government of Liberia, each branch of the government Liberia probably have the highest number of people from those regions, the speaker and all those people. And this is what they have to show after after 6 years. It's a disgrace.
Glendy, you couldn't have said it better, but I'll bring Mohamed in. Mohamed, I want to emphasize the point that Glendy just made. President Weah is from the southeast, Grand Crew. Mr. Tua, the finance minister, is from there. Speaker, the pro tem, and the list goes on and on. The issue of the southeast, even if other Liberian nationals in other counties see our government making intentional investment to stop the nightmare in the southeast, because this is a disconnect from the other part of the country. Yes. I don't think they will have issue with
economic failure.
So I don't know, how can we class, is there a leadership failure? Is it the fact that we don't have the resources? What's responsible for this? And now our leaders have to be flying helicopters going through Africans, and sometimes they have to pass through Sierra Leone to get to Lofa. What you read in all this?
It's only because George Weah is not able. Look, let's just take politics a little bit out. And ask ourselves, we think George Weah did not want to build all the roads in the southeast? He wanted to do it. But the reality is, he's not able to do it. He doesn't have what it takes to do it. Weah wanted to be president to build all the roads in the southeast. So you can say, I build all the roads in the southeast. He wants to build all the roads in the country. But he's not able to do it. You give him 30 more years, he will not do it. because he doesn't have what it takes to do it. That's just the reality. It's not that he's wicked, he's a bad man. He wanted people of Southeast to have a role. No, he wanted to have it. But as president, he doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have what it takes to be able to negotiate, to be able to make hard decisions, to allocate resources, to put the road there. He's not able. 15 more years, he will not do it. He's not able. That's the reality. That's how I put it. Look, German, you make argument here about budget. You make argument about the people not plenty there, so that the reason why you don't want to focus there. Almost every major road in Liberia were constructed through concessional loans, not government money, because we know government budget small. So the past government, with all their thoughts, managed to negotiate all these different concessions, make the case for these roads. Tell me, since George Weah became president, what concession he has passed for road in Liberia? You can point to one.
You had 68 and 66 were basically bogus.
No, I come in.
Yeah, you were in that government that stole the 68 agreement. Only two.
Mr. Goodman, you only asked it.
No, this man got draw face. Just say under his government.
Mame is protected.
Mame's government. He worked in that government.
Mame is protected,
including him.
Mr. Mame is protected. Go ahead, Mr. Mame.
So government build these roads through concession. They make the case for concessional loan. They mean loan that you can just pay small interest on to build the road. All the roads in Liberia are built on concession loans. If your government claim the bill, let it show one concession loan they passed for roads since 2018. They can show one. So what is basically happening is all the concession loans that were passed for road in the past that were being implemented when you came, that just what has been happening. Show me one. You can show it. But you argue that the people in Southeast, that small number, so that the reason why road can go there. Let me tell you something. How many persons living on the road to go to Maggie House? You put road there. How many persons living on the road to go to Tue House? You put road there. How many persons living on the road to go to Georgia House? You put all these small minister, his friend and female friend, male friend, he put road connected to their houses, but he leaves strategic area.
The Jamaica Reserve.
Let me tell you something about the Southeast that you don't know. People keep saying this thing, oh, Southeast, that small number. Let me tell you something. In an agrarian economy, check all your projects for rice production in Liberia, all from Tobo Town to today. They are focused in the Southeast. It's for strategic reasons. The reason why all your rice production projects from Tobo Town to today are focused in the Southeast is because of the evidence that low land production can double high land production. And you got more low land in the Southeast. So if you claim you come to the presidency and want to address Liberia rice food security problem, especially rice, you focus on the Southeast role and be able to make sure that you connect the farmers there to produce rice. That's why all your rice projects go into the Southeast, because they have the landscape and the natural infrastructure to be able to produce rice. So you're not only building roads because human beings live somewhere. You're building roads because some of those roads can serve as growth corridors to other parts of the country. Helicopter. On the helicopter issue, look, there is something somebody said. They say whether it will add boost to the campaign. Yes, it does. And the political class in our country have intentionally kept our people poor to the extent that when they see you in helicopter, they celebrate you.
Yes.
And they go and vote for you for that reason. That is what we want to change. The political class have kept the people poor to the extent that if you dress in good shirt and appear in front of them, they celebrate you for that. And they can vote for you because of that reason. Say, look at the men wash. They will vote for you for that reason, because they keep our people poor and ignorant. It's a decision, a conscious decision to keep these people poor. So when you fly over them with helicopter, they appreciate you and go vote for them. We have to change it. And you can't change it with somebody like George Weah, who doesn't even know his way out, even though he might have good intentions. Somebody here talk about 68 concessions. Let's have a debate on it. There is no report in Liberia that says 68 concessions. Why you keep saying these things all around?
we can have that. We can have that debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. No, Mr. Gemma, it's time for Mr. Gongloe here. Mr. Gongloe, I'm going to divert a little bit because the whole road issue caught my attention. And the former vice president, now current candidate for the Unity Party, is on record for saying, when and only if elected, in 90 days, no car in Liberia will get stuck in the mud.
What?
Look at this road.
That is impractical.
Let me say that. Look at this road. And the Unity Party had 12 years to avert this nightmare from the south, in the southeast and in other places. I want to get your honest take here. How practical is that? And we get stuck in the mud in Liberia in 90 days when we have not been able to do it in over 175 years.
Has he been on the road?
Well, the last time I checked, Aliu Kamara agreed with me. He passed through Sierra Leone to go to Lofa.
He's been parked in the garage. How is he going to get on the road?
Mr. Gongloe, you are protected.
I will not agree with you.
Mr. Gongloe is protected. Aliu, don't interrupt.
Aliu does not have to agree with you. The fact is, Joseph Boakai has passed through Sierra Leone twice to go to Foya. It's just a fact. He doesn't have to agree with you. I mean, it was not during election time. He was going back to his home and he passed through Sierra Leone twice. So, through Vahu and enter Foya. It's just a fact. So he doesn't have to agree. But that said, I share Councillor Gongloe visit to the southeast. I shared the one of the photos with you. If you can please issue your messenger.
All right, thank you.
Being that, I wanted to use that to kind of phrase my comment on this matter.
Yeah, go ahead. What I get that.
Leaders have to show. You see, in life we say, tree casts a shadow before the tree falls. So the shadow tells you what is about to happen. So all these grandiose talk about 100 days, that's not realistic. That's a campaign talk. People say those things to get elected. In 2002, I was in Kenya. Mwai Kibaki said he was going to audit Dano Arab Moi government officials if he's elected. When he got elected, the first Minister of Agriculture, Education, he appointed was the late Dr. Michael Satoti, who had a PhD in mathematical statistics. He was elected as Minister of Education, and he was in Dano Arab Moi. In fact, he was linked to the Golden Bell gold scandal. Kenya does not have a gold, but they were getting money from some corrupt scheme, and the sellers came to buy gold. And that's the first person Mwai Kibaki appointed as Minister of Education. So campaign. So there is a campaign message, and there is a governing thing. This is what Councillor Gongloe has to go through to go in the southeast. In fact, according to him, there were instances where he slept on the road, and he thought that he might even have a snake bite. Okay. Because that's what it takes. He said, I'm going to go and experience what ordinary people experience. If you elect me as president, I will change his condition. They will talk about Jeremiah going through Ivory Coast, president. We are flying to helicopter. All these talk. This is a real deal. This guy, you elect him, he changed your story. Because he's a practical guy. He walks your talk, and he talks your talk. That's what he does. So, but on the question of the helicopter politics, I don't want to even get into it because L.M. Johnson, helicopter will not change. L.M. Johnson Sally in 2005 in the southeast, in Lofa, she flew a helicopter to campaign because the roads were bad. When she became president, she did not change the Lofa. She did not improve the Lofa road. She did not improve the southeast. The story of the southeast must be real. Like the moment talk about, you need government to enter into concession loan. I know past governments have made serious attempt to get concessional loan, but southeast is where we have most of the rainforest in Liberia. So it's a difficult terrain to build road. It's not just easy. It's not just like we can sit on a talk show and talk about it. Even if you get the money, the technical know-how, the technician.
you.
It will take them some time to actually break through the dense forest to build a road. So it is not just who can say this, and like, you know, I wouldn't say politics all of this. Politics all of this. I would not hold the CDC government as much as I will hold the Unity Party government.
I need to come in, my friend. I insist to come in.
Because the Unity Party government have the clout, one, internationally. They raise more money, but what they did with it, the verdict is still out there. We cannot do this thing with his limitation in 6 years. He cannot do that. No, he cannot do that. His government does not have the credibility. So to expect we have to even do some of the things we're talking about is like asking me to claim Mount Everest. I can't claim Mount Everest. I mean, like Councillor Gongloe said, the voters in Liberia committed child labor by giving £100 weight to a child. Comparing Liberia as a £100 weight and giving it to we had to lift. So I didn't expect we had to do that. But I think all of the leaders, they just basically engaged in politics. Sieh did it. Boakai goes to Foya through Sierra Leone. There's a reason why Boakai is not going to the Southeast, because he does not want to be discussed like we're discussing tonight. To say, oh, Boakai has to go through Southeast after 12 years in power. He doesn't want that kind of discussion. So he stays in Monrovia. That's basically what is happening. But Councillor Gongloe drove through the Southeast, slept on the road many times, slept in villages, and he lived with the people. He went to Bewan. He got in Bewan, in Grand Cru, and the people told him, no, in fact, we've not seen senatorial candidate enter here in the last 10 years. We've not seen a presidential candidate enter in Bewan, let alone sleep here. You sleeping with us, the town chief, in fact, the city mayor of Bewan, still calls him today. He said, you are my presidential candidate because you slept in my house, you shook my hand, we ate together. I remember you. That's what he did.
Thank you. Ali, you will get the final word on this one. I know you want to play a little defense. Go for it.
Yeah, Mr. Gongloe can surprise me. See, the road, the heavy rainfall is difficult. There is feasibility studies done on these roads even before our bilateral contact can agree with these concessions. All of the roads that was included in the concession that the Unity Party advocated for, there were studies done on these roads before they came up with the amount of money to do these roads. And one thing you have to understand, government is continuity. If the Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf-led administration arranged the financial agreements for these roads, they were signed and they were on paper. When you take over the government that you're supporting now over Taiwan Gongloe, you're supporting CDC because you know Taiwan is not going to win. So you will CDC now. We understand that. The government you're supporting now should have took over from where the previous government stopped and implement. I'm coming. Implement the project because those are Liberian projects. They are on the book. They have already been secured. All you got to do is do it. And when somebody say, well, in 100 days, it is impossible to make every major highway in Liberia pliable in 100 days. If somebody says that's impossible, that person did not exist prior to the 1990 war. If you existed prior to the 1990 war, as soon as I can understand, you are assuming where the inside now, you better saw Kota. But I'm talking about those who live in those urban areas like Buchanan, like Greenville, like Harper. Ask them. People travel from Monrovia to Harper and gather either midnight or the next morning. I'm talking about rainy season.
True.
I'm talking about raining season.
That's
so
true.
Say it's impossible. Then where were you?
Thank you.
My people.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
On that note, folks in cyberspace, we will go for a short break. When we come back, Councillor Tiawan Gongloe goes after Joseph Boakai. I'm going to put it in these terms. He said, Boakai and Ellen went on the water. They came out, and Boakai said, I didn't get wet. Only Ellen got wet. We will talk about that when we come back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Sieh moderating in this Friday night debate. Let us hear from Councillor Gongloe and our debaters who will in.
The Constitution says the Vice President shall assist the President. It didn't say may assist the President. So when you say that you don't go assist the President, you want to benefit from that? That negligence of duty. They didn't say you may assist the President or the President may ask the Vice President. They gave the authority. You are mandated by the people of Liberia to assist the President. You don't want to get in the money and go to Madam President, what do we have on the plate? I suggest we do so and so and so. I suggest we do so. I think we need an emergency cabinet meeting on this topic and this topic. You won't do it. Then you say, I was just there. And the woman went and threw Liberia in a hole. Me, I was just telling them, what did you do? Oh, if you are there for the first 6 years, and you say you were parked car, and you are squandering opportunity, what stopped you? What made you now for the second 6 years to be campaigning with a woman? Say you'll give her another 6 years. So they say it's a man of integrity, but integrity means being truthful, being honest. Yeah. You all see honesty in that one? No. So you just there. You're talking a robot. You can't move. You can't take any decision. They can push you. No. The Vice President budget, that fast budget, over $2 million. That's the one you were enjoying instead of doing the work. Let him tell you that, Mapo, I enjoyed the money was sweet. But you know, I followed the money, I couldn't do my work. I forget about my duty. The way I should tell them, they can't say, oh, no, but yeah, when they say, you know, the party Bill Road to Guinea Border in Ghana, they say, yeah, that one part of it. You know the party Bill Road to Uganda, yeah, I mean, Buchanan, yeah, that one part of it. You know the party, $80 million was stolen. From Lofa, on you know about that one, not about it. Anything bad they say, I will not part of you. You see honesty in that one? No. An honest person will say my
punches at Joseph Boakai.
But I only saw 4 people over there. I only saw 4 people in the audience.
The 4 people are Liberians. He was in one of the hamlets of our dear country, Liberia, making his case and throwing punches at Joseph Boakai, who will better clean it up than Ali. You heard Tiawan, your defense.
You talking to me?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, listen here. All right? Look, it's campaign time, and I can guarantee
he's hung up over crowd size. You're talking about 4 people. That's what he's concerned with. Right now, we're over here and we're watching.
Okay, Okay, wait. Let me finish the one point. This campaign time, the particular Gongloe you see, Ansony, mark my word. If we are going to a second round with the CDC, which we know we're taking the thing on the first ballot, but if we do go to the second round with the CDC, you will see Gongloe come right to where it belongs in this particular election.
But that would be expected with everybody else. What would be the difference?
Glendy, I was trying to hit on you, but you're trying to mess up now. Well, let me finish with this thing.
Alio, so, Councillor Gongloe put out some points against you.
I'm responding now.
Go ahead.
I'm responding now. Councillor Gongloe said $80 million was stolen from Nuka. First of all, that is unfactual for a lawyer to say. When a lawyer like Councillor Gongloe speaks, he must speak with evidence. Again, I don't most of all who are in the Joseph Boakai camp don't want to go after Gongloe because Gongloe has always been our second choice anyway. But there is no evidence that $80 million was stolen from Noka. But let's just assume that $80 million was stolen from Noka. The vice president of the Republic of Liberia should be responsible for it. Did the vice president work at Noka? Was he the controller general at Noka? So that was a mistake on his part.
Was the president Ellen Johnson Sirleaf working at Noka?
But let me finish addressing my points. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is the one who appointed people to Noka. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is the supervisor of those who were at Noka, not the vice president. So what happened at Noka, the president is responsible some way or other, but not the vice president. But let me explain this to you. The mayor also said that the Constitution said this is a Councilor Gongloe, I'm a mouth upon the scene here, so I'm always careful with him. This is a lawyer. They say the vice president shall assist. The underlying word is not shall. The underlying word is assist. Assistance is something you can only give if it is accepted. He also said that in the first 6 years, this and that went on under the Unity Party government. The first 6 years were almost perfect. So it was not the first 6 years that Joe Boakai was complaining about. Joe Boakai complained in the second 6 years. That's when he complained a lot. And Joe Boakai have made series of things clear. Even Yombly has come out to say even the money that was put in the health budget under the early administration, most of it was because of Joseph Yuma Boakai. And Joseph Yuma Boakai has come up and actually spared out some of the things he did and some of the responsibility that the president gave him. However, my uncle is wrong when he said because the Constitution said he shall assist the president. That means he was forced to assist the president. You want to help me? If I don't take it, you will force me? You can't force me. There's no
I have to push back here.
Push it.
The Constitution, if you read the language of the Constitution, most of the time is like an instruction. Like especially when it says shot, it said the vice president shot. And background, can you put it on the screen again so we can read it, please?
No, but don't just put only that sentence there.
Okay.
Read the whole
there shall be. There shall be. That is a matter. That is a mandate. That is a mandate. There shall be a vice president who shall assist. Assist. That means it's a mandate of the vice president.
Wait, no, assist is not a mandate. Let's define the word assist.
You go ahead and define it.
No, let's define the word assist. Assist means to help someone.
To help someone.
Helping someone is not by force.
When the Constitution is mandating you to help, then you say,
let me explain this to you. Let me explain this to you for the sake of our audience. When the Constitution says that you, Ansony said, you shall assist me, that means to say, if I ask you to assist me, you must assist me. It doesn't mean to say, if I don't need your assistance, you must assist me anyhow. That's not what the Constitution is saying. And the learned counselor is wrong.
All right. This is Friday night debate. I will hear from the other debaters. Mame, you agree with Taro, or you agree with, or you disagree with Aliu?
So the Liberia's People's Party, the premise of our campaign was what Councillor Gongloe was trying to flesh out. The time he had to speak is not the time I have to speak yet. So what I will say is, the crux of our campaign is, since the silence of the gun in Liberia, there have been two political institutions responsible for everything we experience today. Two. The two political institutions are CDC and the Unity Party. There are no more war in Liberia. I mean, gun war. But we are fighting war of poverty. We're fighting war of hunger. Fighting war of diseases. Fighting war of lack of education. In the midst of peace, 20 years of peace, we're fighting war. That war we're fighting is as a result of governance failure over time of two political parties, the Unity Party and the CDC. 12 years Unity Party, 6 years CDC. So the premise of our campaign is these two political parties should not be given state power. And that was what Gongloe was saying. that Joseph Boakai is part of the two institutions that have been leading Liberia for the last 20 years or 18 years, because 2 years was during Brian. So he made the case, and I'm elevating the case now. We're all going into the specific details that he highlighted, that these two political parties have provided leadership for our country, and here we are today. You can talk about the magnitude at which CDC is taking corruption at a whole different level. You can talk about the magnitude of how CDC have allowed drugs to take over the country at a whole different level. You can talk about the magnitude of incompetence of CDC at a whole different level. But what we experience today is a cumulative effect of governance failure over 18 years that you cannot pull one person out of. And that is the premise of our campaign. Therefore, the option for a better Liberia is Gongloe.
You see how good the boy is, Ansony? He's good.
The option of a better Liberia is not those who provided leadership for the last 18 years, for which today we are fighting war in the midst of peace. For which today we are fighting different wars in the midst of peace, cannot be a solution for our future. So Gongloe is making that argument that don't pull one person off. Look at Liberia's People Party and Gongloe as the solution to these problems for a better Liberia. The corruption that caused you to not have role, the corruption that caused drugs to not be in the hospitals, the corruption that had chairs to not be in the school, we the Liberian People Party will fight it, and will fight it in a different way. We will use lifestyle only as the foundation to fight corruption. So that was the message Gongloe was sending across. And I'm not going into the details and the specific to be calling words that he used.
You know what will happen when you go into the details.
Because we want the people to get the specific message that 18 years of leadership with two political parties, and we find ourselves here today. We need to find a new direction.
Thank you. Let me come to Comrade Shari. Comrade Shari, when the Constitution says shall assist, and I'm still on the point here when we're making, it's not by the permission of the president. The Constitution is giving a mandate to both, giving a mandate to the entire citizenship of Liberia.
Yeah.
That is a mandate that the Constitution is giving to all of us, that you, Mr. President, Madam President, whoever in the Republic of Liberia, when someone is a vice president, that person shall assist. And that assistance is not by the permission of the president. No. It is a mandate given by the Constitution.
Right.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Well, you know,
please put Article 51 up. Let's read the whole thing. Don't take one line. Read the whole thing.
Aliu, you have your time. Let Comrade Shari come in. Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Let's certify Aliu.
Yeah, read the whole thing.
Be a vice president who shall assist the president in the discharge of his function. The vice president shall be elected on the same political ticket and shall serve the same term as the president. The vice president shall be president of the Senate and preside over its deliberations without the right to vote except the case of a tie vote. He shall, you see again, shall attend meetings of the cabinet and not governmental meetings, and shall perform such function as.
Keep on. Go ahead. Don't stop there.
You continue.
You know, you want to that back.
Yeah, so you know, I hate to agree with Aliu on I hate to agree with him on anything because he's very partisan, right? But you know, I have to somewhat, you know, agree with him, you know, just politically speaking. Now, you know, so let's go away from the Constitution. How does the vice president
was making a constitutional argument there, though?
Correct. You know, and I agree, and it is perfectly in place. But how does the vice president get a? How does he or she gets his job, his or her job? right? It's the president. You have to be there has to be a congeniality with the president, with the standard bearer. So there's a standard bearer who searches
who handpicks the VP,
who handpicks the vice president. So if we want a very activist vice president, I think that needs to change. But until then, you're not gonna have someone. You're not gonna pick a rival. You're not gonna pick someone who's gonna overshadow you. Joel Howard Taylor tried, but what happened now? Joel Howard Taylor was put in her place, where she belongs, and that's where she's at right now, right? So,
Commissioner, the argument you're making here is the political argument of practicality, right? But Gongloe was making a constitutional argument that which is a constitutional matter.
Was wrong.
And Gongloe, right? And Gongloe was making this constitutional argument. I don't know if Gongloe, if he's in the same position, that he's not going to do the same thing that William Tolbert or Boakai would have done. So, Tolbert waited for his term for 19 years, right? He said nothing, did nothing. And then when Tubman died, Tolbert unleashed all these reforms. He freed political prisoners that Tubman incarcerated. He carried a lot of development that Tubman did not do for 27 years. So you have vice presidents, right? We have presidents in Liberia where vice presidents have waited their term, so to speak. So they're not making waves. They're not out there challenging the president, because you know what's going to happen? The next election cycle, you're going to be gone and someone else is going to take that post. But if that's what you want to do, if that's the kind of vice president you want to be, that's an option that is open always to everybody, to all of us, to all the vice presidents. But if you are someone who waited your term and you're saying that to yourself, you assure yourself that you're going to fill these shoes one day, so you wait your term. So that's the political argument. Now, Gongloe is making the legal argument, which is another way to look at it. And I'm not saying he's wrong for that, but the fact that, even in the United States, you have vice presidents who it has to be the president has to delegate certain responsibilities. Like, can we put you, can you go to our foreign mission? Can you go on this trip? Can you be in charge of, I don't know, the climate? Can you talk for us on human rights and different things like that? So it largely, so what we have in Liberia, we have an imperial presidency. So the president, almighty president, that needs to change. But until then, this is what we have. So, and then the other thing that, that baffles me a little bit, because I know Councillor Gongloe has a very good message, and he's who's better to take down the opponent than Councillor Gongloe, because he's knowledgeable. He has all the arguments, but he's taking down the opposition, the leader of the opposition. So what does he have to gain if not to assist George Weah? So I'm a little baffled by that, and someone needs to explain to me why he's taking down the leader of the opposition in this manner. Because let's be honest, Gongloe, who has a better message.
And you think he was effective there?
He was very, very effective, talking to these people in the language they understand. He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
He put everything out.
People, that's good.
He is very, very good. And so this is the kind of thing. See, if Liberia is the kind of country I think it should be, someone like Gongloe should be in the top tier. But we're not talking about him now because he's probably in the bottom 10, in the bottom, half of
20.
Right. So this is the kind of country that we have. So you glorify thieves, okay? You glorify people who just go around, destroy the country, and we glorify them, and that's what's going on. So again, that's another conundrum that we can talk about on a different show.
Thank you. Let's get to the man who drinks from the Sacramorian cup. Are you out of juice? You heard Comrade Gongloe taking swab at Boakai. Was he effective? Do you agree with him?
Yes, for those who don't know much about messaging It doesn't matter whether you got 4 people there or you got 10 people there. Okay? Gongloe is speaking to the world. And let me preface that by quoting the former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She's from the old school. When she was elected in 1985, along with Doe, what did she say? She said, I will not take the position, even though I was elected. And they asked her why. And she said that in politics and in life, there's something called conscientious objector. Even though this is in my favor, but on behalf of the Liberian people and my own conscience, I cannot see myself taking this job. Joseph Boakai, after the first term, knowing from what he's saying now that this government squandered all the opportunities, he could have been a conscientious objector and said, Madam President, thank you for the first 6 years that you gave me, but at this point, I won't be able to continue. I disagree with you on certain issues. And this is a message from the old school. Those who follow Bacchus Matthews, Victor Mandel will tell you that our word conscientious objector is a very key to the UPP Foundation. Joseph Boakai could have been a conscientious objector and saying, Madam President, I disagree with you. This is not working. Like Councillor Gongloe said, have I brought to you, these are the things that I think we should be doing. These are my suggestions on education, on healthcare, on reform, on women's issues, on infant mortality, maternal mortality. If he had those records to show us to say, I did do my part, and I was pushed to the side based on that, my conscience cannot serve me right to continue with this government, so I resign. Joseph Boakai would have been in the perfect position to be where he is, talking that he should have been. But instead, Gongloe was right. He received the perks of that office, enjoyed it over the past 12 years, enjoyed the largesse and the luxury of vice presidency, riding on the coattail of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And now that things have gone sour, he said we were in the river, I came out dry. It was Ellen that was wet. Y'all go to her. She didn't want me to be dry. Even John Molu, who is now the campaign manager, I've been the fundraiser in chief for Joseph Boakai, said it. Joseph Boakai government was 3 times more corrupt than Charles Taylor. So if Joseph Boakai,
I think he said the Judy Bryan government, not the Charles Taylor government.
No. Well, no. He said the Unity Party, but not
Mr. Kamara, you have all time. So I'm just talking about conscientious objector, somebody who has the conscience. A wise man, according to some folks, the older you are, the wiser you are.
Thank you, Mr.
Said, I don't agree with this. This is not the way.
I agree with you. I don't agree with you at all. I agree with you what you just saying. You're over, you know why? You said
Mr. Kamara, stop the interruption, please.
Okay, go ahead.
This would not make you to win the debate tonight.
Mr.
Name, you're listening to Comrade Sharif saying that he doesn't understand what Mr. Gongloe was up to, and in his assessment, Gongloe was taking down the major opposition person who stands a chance against George Weah. Is that how you see it? I think this is a competition, right?
I honestly, I mean, this is the primary for the opposition, right? For the runner, the round 2. So yes, they would take stripes at each other because everyone wants the spot in the second round. So I don't really see anything wrong with that. And quite frankly, to Councillor Gongloe's credit, there are a lot of pieces of information in this presentation over there. One, this vice president is very wealthy, even though he presents, as a poor man. Imagine just in the last 12 years of the over 40 years that he worked in government, he made $24 million, $2 million per month times 24 months. That's $24 million. That's what his vice president made. Now,
did he say $2 million per month or per year?
The money doesn't go to the vice president. It's
per
a
year?
running
Did I
of
say
the
per
vice
month? Per
president
year?
office.
I'm sorry, per year. Okay. Times 12.
Yeah, but that's for the office of the vice president, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was not
his salary.
I have seen the breakdown before. The total budget of the office of the vice president is more than $2 million. I have to. I think right now it might be around $5 million or so. But I can't.
No, that is not true. It has never reached 5 million. It has never.
I will find it. I will find it.
I'm sure what I'm saying. I look at it all the time. It has never reached 5 million. Even now, it has not reached 5 million. Go ahead.
I think I can share with if you
All
like,
right.
I can share with you.
But be that as it may, by Liberian standards, that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money that this vice president has made. 2, we continue to question this vice president's judgment, former vice president's judgment. Councilor Gongloe is saying, okay, so you served with this lady for 6 years, and you said she was up to no good, and yet in 2011, you were going around campaigning for this lady again for a second term. What does that say about your judgment? What does that say about your judgment? So now we see the vice president, he's making these judgment calls, and like I keep saying, he's supposed to be the wisest in the race by our Liberian, expectation. So I don't think what Councilor Gongloe is doing is wrong. He's drawing a contrast because he is a candidate who is looking for the same spot that the vice president is vying for. So it is within his right to present the way he did. I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right, Mr. Nambwe, thank you.
He also pointed out this vice president dishonest, right? If you say you're doing nothing and yet you're being paid almost $2 million a year for 12 years, then it means you're taking the people's money on. Now, Mr. Conrad, do you mind? Can you mute yourself, please? Because you're interrupting me.
Yeah. Please behave yourself.
So he's getting paid for 12 years. I know, right? For 12 years for doing nothing. Is that an honest person? I mean, you answer that for me. So I listened to Councilor Gongloe, and I said that a couple of months back. I just worry that because of his late entry into the campaign, I really think he should be one of the front runners right now. And it might be, but he is a very good explainer, and he knows how to communicate with the ordinary person, both verbally and his human relations. He knows how to relate. It's just that he has an uphill task, and right now I'm hoping, we'll meet in the second round, and we will join hands. I like his presentation. He very, 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 very precisely, very, very, very cleverly took down the vice president in less than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's get your take on this whole Gongloe criticism of Boakai, and then we'll come to Mr. Gongloe, and we'll go to the phone lines.
Well, I think Councilor Gongloe's criticism was effective and it was timely. The audience got a message that he was trying to give because he broke it down to their understanding. However, I think with a crucial election like the one we are seeing and everybody else that is involved, looking at everybody else, Boakai has probably the second largest group as the equivalent. And so taking him down, somebody like Gaiman can capitalize on that and play it into the ears of voters, which is not going to be good for the opposition because Councilor Gongloe is member of the opposition Black. And so why if because of his message, people who were maybe thinking about voting for the VP decide to vote for the equipment. That means you're going for one round victory. There's no second round where he could be somebody that will make the VP to win. So it's crucial. So I think if the opposition, I'm not saying don't criticize, but such criticism, which is very good, but it's very damaging, to say the least.
Ansony, before you go to the line, can I come in for 30 seconds?
Well, I haven't spoken on this issue yet.
It's coming to me. It's not going to the line.
Yeah, let me Mr. Gongloe go first.
Everybody got 30 seconds. You've been stealing people 30 seconds all day.
Why you are uneasy?
There's too many misinformation.
So please go ahead. You are protected, sir.
But listen, I think Ambalai Miami put this in context. I think from the Liberian People's Party perspective, we are very clear that for the past 18 years, only 2 political parties have had political authority, political power in Liberia. So what we are experiencing today is a result of mismanagement of the state. I have personally argued that the CDC and the Unity Party are bad managers of our state revenue, which the voters should reject them. So for those who believe that it's not a good idea for opposition members to criticize each other, we have to put the opposition in context. Let dissect the maker of the Boakai opposition. The maker of the Boakai opposition is what I would say, like Hillary Clinton said, the horribles. You have the likes of Prince Johnson, who has been in bed with Georgia as of October 2022. You have the likes of Jeremiah Kuhn, who has been there as of October 2022. You have Ellis Tyler. You have James Barney. Then let's go on. You do not expect serious-minded people want to radically transform the structure of the state and the governance process.
And Mr. Gongloe, these are the opposition people you are calling the deplorables?
I say so. That's my view. Okay. This is not the LPP view. This is my view. I'm just quoting Hillary Clinton. So you don't expect, because we don't think
I'm having trouble separating.
We do not have the same governing philosophy. We do not have the same governing philosophy. So you don't expect me to be standing there and say, hey, hallelujah, Joseph Boakai. No, because Joseph Boakai mindset is the old way that LPP wants to depart from. Joseph Boakai mindset is collect tax and eat it. That's it. That's the mindset of government. That's his mindset. Councillor Gongloe mindset is serve government and serve the people. He said the government is not a place to get rich. It's a place to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Gongloe. Thank you. Like Jimmy.
I've always had respect for the comrade Gongloe. We were in school together, and even from that stage, we had a lot of reverence for him. Even though we were colleagues in the same class, but he was the teacher's pet. The professor, doctor, so many professors gave him leverage over us, and he even graded our test papers, even though we were team level. So I always admired Councillor Gongloe, but I can tell you what he was doing there. He was not denigrating the VP, if you notice. For me, he was teaching people how to think. And this is my approach to this thing. We need to start thinking differently. For instance, a lot of people believe that name recognition makes a good leader. That is so wrong. This is how you end up with people later on, and you find out they can't do your job. It's not because the person is popular, they had a big name. That's not what you need to look at things like their capacity. Mr. Boakai was given the agricultural sector to develop. That's what LNG gave him. Do we see any development in that direction? We talk about credibility. We talk about principles. What are the principles? Have you heard him stand up for principles since he's been? He doesn't have to object or what the president said, but he could tell us what he believes in. Okay, and lastly, we're talking about servant leadership. You know, when you see a person going out to the village, to the community, and taking their hands and serving people, then you know this person wants to serve. But a lot of people don't want to serve; they want to rule us. They want to rule. They want to be the big shots of what they saw a long time ago. They want to be one of those big shots. So we need to think. We need to teach our people. Don't mind the name. What does that person believe in? What capacity? What have you seen them do successfully? Okay. What are the credibility they have when they say there's something? Do they do that thing? Do they have that integrity? So those are the things we need to teach our people, or we'll continue electing people who will disappoint us. You know, it requires a different mindset, and that's why when I hear Ali talking, I don't have a bias. I just want a good person. And my criteria is not because you some partisan, but it's rather.
I see why Ali was worried about your analysis there. You were well pointed and strong, and I didn't see it that way. That he's telling these people to think better, and I like the way you pull it. Hey, the whole name recognition is not going to take us anywhere. Let's look at capacity. You know, let's look at record. You know, somebody was giving the ministry, the agricultural sector develop. What did he do? And you know, this is how we feed our country. This was an opportunity given this person. And what did he do? You know, it's a better way to look at it. We will go to our phone line. You guys are doing on this one. It's time for us to go to the phone line. The call us.
30 seconds.
All right. Go for it. 30 seconds.
Okay, listen. This man said again. He said he can investigate stuff. He said Joseph Boakai was over the agriculture ministry. Okay, I agree. For his benefit, Sonny, how much was in the budget for Joseph Boakai as someone who was spearheading the agriculture ministry? Did you do that investigation? But let me just leave you on the side small. Let me go to my uncle Victor over there. He said they were paying Joseph Boakai $2 million. Who does that? Let me explain to you how the budget of the vice president or any other budget works. The budget is on paper. The money is not taken in bunch and given it to your office. This money is disbursed over a period of time, and it comes from the Ministry of Finance. No, hold on. It comes from the Ministry of Finance. It's not like the vice president office had, this is the account number of the vice president's office, and then the money, the $2 million go to the vice president bank account. That's not how it works. Every check from the Ministry of Finance to employees of the vice president office, the signature on that check is the finance minister and the bank governor, possibly. Joseph Boakai does not
make your point there. We'll go to our phone line here.
Okay, so let us not
thank you, Ali. You make your point there. We will go to the phone line, please. We'll bring in the man Evis Morris. Mr. Morris, you are live. Evis, go for it. You are live.
Okay, you're not ready.
What's going on? Evans, go for it. You are live. What's going on here? Please bear with us here. Let's see. Evan Morris, can you hear me? Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back to correct that technical glitch there with our phone line. We'll be right back momentarily.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia. From education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct
All right, let's go back to the phone line, Dad. Backroom, are you ready for the phone calls? I see that you are muted there. Evan Morris, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you. Are you getting me?
Yeah, now you are loud and clear. Go ahead, please. You have a minute.
All right, thank you. I want to say hello to you and hello to the fellow panelists. I think you guys are having a wonderful show. For the first time in a long time, let me totally agree with Mr. Kamara when he's talking about the Constitution. And that Joseph Boakai should assist the president when asked. And that's the problem, because I'm going to flip it around. If he said he was a park car, meaning that the president didn't have confidence in his advice and in his assistance, so she parked him to the side because in her mind he was useless politically to her. So she parked him. So he wasn't an effective vice president. So when he come on the campaign trail and try to make it seem like he's akin to being a president when he was vice president because he would have the experience and he was in the room when tough decisions were being made and he was able to do things like a president and thereby he's the most qualified to take over from President Weah. It's not true. Because by his own words, he was parked. The president didn't value his assistance and she parked him. Secondly, when we're talking about the Southeastern role, I think we all have to be sincere, and I think Mr. Gongloe nailed the problem on the head. The reality is the ground, the terrain in that region is very, very muddy and wet. And even if you start doing the construction, you want to have about 6 months to complete it, or else the rainy season is going to make that place muddy again, and all of your gains that you've done in terms of constructing the road is going to be, somewhat, put back. So I think we need to build bridges, to the southeast, which is way more expensive. And I think that's why subsequent, previous government haven't had a chance to build those roads because it's so expensive. And our budget of $800 million, we can't take half of our budget to build roads to the southeast. We have a lot of needs in other areas of the country. But I'll just give you this last caveat before I leave. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Harvard-trained economist, when she was president, the poorest and still the poorest county is where her father hailed from, which is Bowman County. It was the poorest county, remains the poorest county. So what are we going to say, that Ellen Johnson didn't care about her people in Bowman County? So I'll just leave it there. I think the discussion has been fruitful. It's a good discussion, but Mr. Kamara, I think you've been too disruptive, but you've had some good points on the show. Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Sieh. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Let me go back to the phone line. We will bring in Emmanuel Soma. Soma, you are live.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. Reach out to everybody. First of all, let me just there's a popular proverb that I love. It says, "The age of Methuselah has nothing to do with the wisdom of King Solomon." Methuselah is the older man to live in the Bible, but Solomon, the younger guy, have way more wisdom than him. Now, what am I trying to say? I think what I've realized about us Nigerians is that we expect everything to be fixed or too soon. We left quick results. People are questioning why the Southeastern rule is like that, and some of us who are well learned, we're forgetting to understand that Nigeria probably is 176 years old. George Weah just became president. It's not even good 6 years yet. We don't care who are being president. Tubman was president for 27 years. Compare the Liberian economy during Tubman time with Japan by GDP. Almost a time. Why we didn't develop the country? Why did they not do it? Ellen Johnson said it, and the Unity Party, the most current former ruling party. 12 years, over 13 billion United States that flew in that country. Where did the money go? Joseph Boakai earning almost $2 million per year. Councilor Gongloe is a lender man. He would not try to flip anything. Lender man. He knows what he's talking. You understand? But here's the problem. Our problem in Liberia is that we hard to learn and quick to forget. Now, Liberians, we are hard to learn. There is nowhere in the world a country or around the nation with 800 million budget, national budget. Where that has ever happened?
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Finally, before I go, 1 second before I go, for any political or for any presidential candidate to tell the Liberian people that they will fix all the road in Liberia in the first 100 days, that presidential candidate is mentally unstable. Is that possible? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go back to the phone line. We'll bring in the man, Desmond Finlay, Mr. Sieh. Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah, how you guys doing today? Before I continue, I will not use the word learn or any derivative of that word today, because I think the last caller beat it up too much. But what I will speak on is the fact about Joseph Boakai and the opposition. There's no collaborating opposition. So the councilor was quite clear. Somebody nameless said the primaries of the opposition. Councilor Gongloe was quite clear. All Councilor Gongloe did was state the fact. Joseph Boakai worked for Ellen for 12 years. He turned around and says, and then he spoke to something that was very, very poignant that we don't analyze as Liberians when it actually relates to politics. What's this man? What's his strength like? What's his conviction? You say this person or this government you're with, they're so bad, but you're not convicted enough to walk away from it, only to sit there and benefit from it, and then at the end, then that's when you say the government is bad. It speaks to your character, nobody else's character, but yours, right? So I'll leave that at that, so you can do that where you want. The next thing I want to talk about is this road to Southeast or wherever you are, or what they're talking about. The last caller said the road is wet, and da-da-da-da-da. You keep making excuses. There were places in this world that have complete water today, their land. Go to Dubai. The competing priorities. If you prioritize something, you can build that road within the 6-month period that it takes. It has to be a priority, and it has to be a project of a person that cares, right? So you put your resources there and you get it done. When Liberian people do that, for example, they're saying elections in October, that rainy season, they want to change it to dry season. Why can't you build roads for the election to be conducted? You should have it rainy season. But you said, no, let's move it to when it's convenient for us politicians to go and fly a helicopter around. That means you're not really solving the problem. You're adjusting your body to the problem, and the problem still persists. Rainy season will never stop in Liberia. Let's get that clear. It may even get worse. Let's get that clear. Meaning the roads will even be worse. Let's get that clear. I'm a Congo man, by the way. Let me clarify that. The road will even be worse, right? So the point here is, do not push your problems away. Solve them by having competing priorities. When you have competing priorities, look at what your resources are and put the money there. And the last question I said, they've been Liberia being having government since 200 years ago, I cannot fix it in 6 years. That's why he was elected, to fix it, not to build 16 mansions, 24 girlfriends, and 10,000 men. Those are my words that are all alleged, by the way. Thank you, Amor.
Thank you. We'll go back to the phone line there, and we'll bring in the man, Thomas Cannon. Mr. Cannon, it's your time to speak.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone on the show tonight. A lot of interesting topics. So just kindly give me a few minutes to contribute to some of the points that were made. I think one of the earlier issues you discussed was the issue of the U.S. visa policy that just came out, I think, a day ago. When I joined, part of the discussion was that what motivated this. I think if we have all been following, this is not something, and I see back home, people are trying to tie this to Joseph Boakai made a statement. Maybe that's why this statement is coming out. This is not true. This is not something that was motivated a week or so ago. It has been in the making. If we all remember when the 3 government officials were sanctioned in 2020, this year, on December 9, which is the International Anti-Corruption Day, the entire country was expecting the U.S. to bring another round of sanctions. And when the U.S. ambassador had his press conference, what he said was that this day we are not going to bring additional sanctions. Every other sanction that will come that will be related to Liberia will be tied to the elections. So this is something that has been in the making for a while now. And when the U.S.-Africa summit took place in December of last year, President Biden had a meeting with 6 African leaders, including President Weah, where he took his famous selfie photo from. And it was published all over on Facebook. He was in that meeting because Liberia was going to elections, and the U.S. contributed $165 million to these 6 elections. So in Sierra Leone, the visa policy came up in August, even though the election was June. In Nigeria, it came out in January, 1 month before their election. So the one in Liberia is not different. It has been something that has been in the making. On the point that Mr. Gayman made that the Southeast does not have people and therefore they are not prioritizing the place for road, it's not true. Because the government of Liberia in ECOWAS Bank for Development and Investment and Development signed an agreement on July 30th, 2019, $50 million loan to build a road between Barclayville and Southtown. So that point cannot be true. I think Mr. Chisnell, someone made a point. He spoke about coming to these discussions with facts and research and all of that. And this is a point when we make as people, it really does, I don't think it's something that is factual. When people say, the party was in government for 12 years, they didn't do anything. Really? With everything that happened in our country, we all know Ellen government has some lapses in the second term. But are we saying that in 12 years, Ellen did not do anything in our country? Or because this is what the CDC is saying? On the point of the helicopter, I think it's going to cost President Weah. I remember in 2011, I was part of an organization we went to observe votes in River G. And one of the candidates who was running in that election, I think it was Commonly Wise. He had used helicopter to go to River G. And when we got there, what people were saying was that the traditional people were saying, if he flew in the bird, they call the helicopter bird. That if he thought he was too good that he could not use the road, he flew in the bread to come and campaign to us. We are not going to vote for him. So I think it's going to hurt Weah to fly into the Southeast. On the point of what Mame said, I want to disagree with Mame on this issue. And on the point that Councillor Gongloe was making, that Boakai said he went with Ellen under the water and he came out, only Ellen is wet. I don't think that's it. You are all saying he made a very strategic point. That was a good point he made. The man himself who says on the show every time he's on Spoon TV and other places, when people ask them about what is Councillor Gongloe bringing to this table, they run to Labour Ministry. And so he was at Labour Ministry, he changed the visa regulation, he was at Justice Ministry, he changed the issue of the way our county attorneys are doing their work. That is what he did in the government. But if he was in the government and they all went underwater, if he's not claiming that any government was so bad and Joseph Boakai cannot be dissociated from it, then why should he also claim the good things that he did in the government? But when it comes to corruption, he doesn't want to be a part of it. I don't think that was a smart statement. On the last caller who said Liberians are hard to learn, maybe it's hard to learn. I don't think Liberians are hard to learn. And the reason why people get very annoyed with George Weah, because after 176 years, we should be serious to build this country. Not to come there and break down all of the institutions that we have built over the years. Thank you so much. Let me not take all of the time.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll bring in our final caller here. That is the man, Flomo Livingstone. Mr. Livingstone, you are live.
Yeah. Thank you. Great show today. The last caller just pretty much just read my mind. So I have a few questions to ask about Councillor Gongloe, okay? He working in the United Party government. He had a top position in the government. I stand to be corrected. Can anyone name me? How many cases were Mr. Gongloe were able to win for the government on the behalf of the government as a Secretary General to the SG? And the Secretary as a Labour Minister, what implementation did he put into place that we can look at today? That we say, okay, this is a system that Gongloe put in place as a Labour Minister, as an SG, that we can, continue to so the government can continue with it. But nothing is true. When you complain about GMB, was this, was that, he's a lawyer. He should know the Constitution. Can anyone name me any ministerial position at GMB appointed someone that the person went to the Senate and get confirmed? When we come to this, let's be factual, man. When it comes to Joe Weah, for me, I have nothing to say about Joel because I don't expect anything that Joel can do for that country. From the thing I knew Joel as a leader, he's not able to lead our country. He's not qualified, and people just voted for him because he's a football player, and he do that and he do that. But honor him, honor his government. Joel hasn't been able to reshuffle any government in his last almost 6 years. Doing unity party, I don't take that. That's why Councilor Gongloe resigned because he almost got fired. He didn't want to get reshuffled for his position there. And we all know that. Then people can't say he resigned. No, he didn't resign by choice. He resigned because he saw what was coming up there. So, man, that's what I have to say because the last one just read everything I wanted to say pretty much. Thank you for the show.
Thank you so very much. That will do it for the callers. And gentlemen and lady, we will take a 1 minute from each of you for your closing because time is fast spent. We've gone 2 hours, 37 minutes so far. With that, we will start with Comrade Eastman for his 1 minute closing. Jimmy?
Okay, so here we go. One more time, we're given an opportunity to elect somebody who will lead us. What do you mean by lead us? It means you bring ideas, you bring a vision to us that we can take us to the next level. You will know how to bring the people in that will be able to architect, engineer to do it because this requires technical ability. So, Liberians, that's what you need to look at when you're casting your vote. Does the man have the vision? Does he have the ability? Does he have the capacity? And if he doesn't, then that's not the person you want. Stop going by who you like and who your tribeman or who in your party. That doesn't win it. What wins it is doing. That's my closing statement.
Thank you, Jimmy. Mr. Nabre?
Thank you, Mr. Sieh, and thank you, fellow panelists. I know we had a good show, and thank you to the audience as well. They have been pretty interactive. One, we started out with the visa restrictions. I firmly believe that this will make an impact on the process.
Oh, so low. I can't hear nothing.
Even though we have about 10 or so more days to go, but I can tell you, this is gonna impact how our political leaders behave. On October 1st, which is next week, the CPP will be launching in Monrovia. We don't believe in crowd politics, but every time we present, our crowd is incomparable. So watch out for October 1st. We want you to come out there and show your support. We know the CPP has the best way forward for Liberia. So we invite you to join us. On the VP, the former VP, I really believe his handlers, his advisors need to do a better job of giving him his talking points. He's a little bit advancing age than I am, but even I sometimes I have to carry bullet points with me to guide me so that I don't stray off my topic. I think he has the tendency of going out there and putting it all out there to hang and then trying to take it back in. That's not good. That's not good. A case in point is a recent pronouncement. When you say end is to obliterate, to finish, to kill, to destroy, right? You cannot end Liberia because you think you may have been cheated in the election. There are better ways to deal with that. He has to understand that as the leader, he has to give himself the option of plausible deniability. His honor man could have said that, though I don't condone it, but it would have come from Mo Ali or someone lesser, and he could have denied it. but you know the message would have been on it. But coming from him, that is bad form. But you know, we wish him well. We wish all the candidates well. We have about, like I said, about 10 days or so, and we will be here celebrating and marveling over how the CPP pulled it off. So vote number 4. Finally, if you go out and search Councillor Brumskin, you will see a contrast between what she did to what the former vice president did. Just take the two messages. I'm not going to just take her message to the people, reassuring them, steady hands, thoughtful, very, very ready. Thank you very much, FOL, for the opportunity. It's been a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Nawe. We have a female caller there. Backroom, can you get our caller in? Caller, what's your name and where you joining us from? We want to squeeze this one in, guys.
Thank you all so much for taking me in. I'm Precious Smith. I'm in Maryland, and my first time. So thank you again. I wanted to say something to Mr. Kamara, who was with the UP party. My thoughts for him, one is that, you know, let's be realistic in terms of Boakai's position with Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. There are certain things that are fundamental that we understand. You know, when you work as a team player, I work for a company, I work for my boss, and as a team player, whatever happens, what is good or bad, you take responsibility. And what gets me upset is that Boakai refuses to take responsibility. And my concern here is if he cannot take responsibility of his part, the role he played in Ellen's government. He was part of it when he agreed to be her VP. Everything came with it, whether he was active, he was not active, whatever he so everything came with it. And he cannot take responsibility. So how can we trust him now to move forward? So that's my one thing. So stop that. Stop saying what you're saying. He needs to own up to that. He has to. And the second thing I want to understand, my concern here is I call it the Trumpism mentality. You know, we keep hearing that, Boakai has the number. It has been projected that, this election, chances are it's going to be Boakai and George Weah, the incumbent. So I'm trying to figure out when we keep saying that Boakai has the number or the two parties, have the numbers. I'm trying to understand, is it based on the fact from the last election that he came second place? Because a lot has changed. It's just, variables have happened. We have first-time voters, a lot of young people, voting for the first time. We have silent voters. So I don't think the sample, when people say that, it represents the true voters of Liberia, and we need to be careful. Because what if Boakai doesn't make it second round? Then what? That means what? He got cheated? It's a Trump mentality we're going to be dealing with. So let's be realistic. We have 40%, a statistic was done. A survey was done, and someone was just sharing this data with me a couple of weeks ago, that there are 40% undecided voters out there. There was an independent group went to Liberia and did this, interview, 20,000 people. It may seem a small sample, but the point is, it has been proven that 40% undecided voters are out there that anybody take. So we need to slow the pace and realize that there are other alternatives to this election.
Thank you so much.
I mean, there's just so much to say. And the last thing before I go, and thank you again.
Oh my God.
Our generation to transform our country. And we need to stop and honestly encourage people to vote with their conscience, not based on, this is Boakai's time, moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Ali Kamara, you look exhausted, so give your closing.
But
yeah, for some reason the thing is a little bit low for me. That's why you see me trying to screen to listen. But I heard everything. If you're looking for any objective analysis pertaining to this election, don't listen to people from the ANC. We have a thing in America called crab in a bucket. If you're down and you see the other people climbing up and you have no means of climbing, what do? You grab them by the leg and pull them down. And that's what the ANC has been doing so far. Right now, they are the destroying arm of this election. You can put rainbow in front of these people and tell them it's rainbow at this particular point in time. They will say, no, that is not rainbow. That is actually the star. But, you know, we're not wasting our time on ANC. They can interpret figurative statements any way they want. That's onto them. I want to tell the callers, thanks for calling. We take your opinion and we make adjustment where it's necessary. I just want you to know that I don't agree with Ambule Mohammed always, and that is why we're on two different sides. What I will not do is to refuse to acknowledge the fact that the man is a fine pundit. The man is a very good surrogate. All right, he's capable of cleaning the mess that his standard bearer does. On this show, he did it cleverly, because a lot of things that Mr. Gongloe said, if we were to go in and break it piece by piece, he lied about everything in that statement, and that is the honest truth. Mr. Ismail talks about, he's straightforward, he's trying to educate people and this and that. The Liberian people are educated enough to choose who they want to choose. If you follow history, you realize that the people in Liberia vote based upon what they choose. It's not what the diaspora tells them. The diaspora told them in 1997, they chose who they wanted to choose. The diaspora told them in 2017, they chose who they wanted to choose. And when he made the statement about the need technocrat and this and that, Joseph Boakai is a technocrat. An agriculturalist is a technocrat. All right? But Joseph Boakai is not only a technocrat, he is an administrator, proven administrator. Not only that, he has an impeccable record in civil service. All right? He started from the bottom up, from cadet to supervisor, to manager, to managing director, to minister, to vice president. If that is not the step in which you claim to be promoted, then I don't know where these guys are getting their things from. And by the way, the whole thing about Gongloe resign. No, Gongloe did not resign. Gongloe was kicked out of a job. He was recalled. He refused to go back. That is not the same thing as resigning from a job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So look, listen, it has been a great show. In as much as I seem to sound the loudest on here, but I do learn a lot from this Brabi. I like Brother Victor's calmness, even though he has become so politicized. I mean, to the point where he has refused now to be truthful. But we understand that is the rhythm of the ANC, and we know this desperate. You know, we used to say in the village, when you're drowning, even the leaf that floats on top of the water, you grab on it for safety. And we know, everybody know you now on Focus on Liberia. We know where you stand. Your goal is to destroy Joseph Boakai, regardless of the fact that you and Joseph Boakai ate in the same bowl in the Unity Party. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Ansony. It's a very good show tonight.
Aliu Kamara, thank you. I have a rotten banana. I will give it to you to set it as a fresh one. That's what you just done. Mr. Gongloe, your closing, please.
Yeah. So let me just quickly. I'm gonna let Mommy, he may come and say a few things. But here's what I want to say. I really want to go back to Thomas Kenneth comments about.
This is your closing in 1 minute, please.
No, because he threw out something there that I just want to look at the flip side. He's talking about Gongloe and Councillor Gongloe and Boakai serving the same government, and if Councillor Gongloe said this about Boakai, that will apply to him. But I would just go one step further to also just to take Thomas' kind of argument. Joseph Boakai served in the PRC government. In the PRC government, 13 people were put on firing squad and killed.
Joseph Boakai put in there.
Can we put Joseph Boakai? Can we say Joseph Boakai was part of that decision? Can we blame him for that? If he wants to say Councillor Gongloe and Boakai should be judged at the same level. In government and in every organization, there are levels of responsibility. The fact is, Boakai and L.M. Johnson Sali were elected on a single ticket. Councillor Gongloe was not elected. He was appointed. He had different level of responsibility. And they have statutory responsibility and mandate for what he was to do. Boakai and Ellen have a broad constitutional mandate to perform. Okay, so if we just close our eye for a moment and we go with Thomas' argument, on a door where Boakai was minister in other portfolio he served, there were massacre of Congo, of former government officials. There were the fake coup plot, Thomas Wensen, General Thomas Kuompa, and many others were killed. So we can put Boakai also in line on par with those atrocity. If we go with Thomas and Alio Kamara argument, then Boakai is, we just put all those records on Boakai here. That's my counter.
Thank you. Mr. Mame, your closing, please.
So somebody asks about Gongloe's record on winning cases. Look, this is what Gongloe did as Solicitor General. The work of a Solicitor General is not to go in the street and be looking for people to carry the court. You must carry people to court based on evidence. The evidence is acquired from the audit. At the time Gongloe served as Solicitor General, the law in Liberia says when audits are conducted, they go to the legislature discuss it, they agree, they send it to the president send it to the justice ministry get the grand jury, they do the indictment before the Solicitor General go prosecute. So you don't just see a Solicitor General say, why you don't prosecute people? He doesn't go in the street. It was because of some of those witnesses they decided to establish the Anti-Corruption Commission that can just go directly, arrest, and even give a prosecutorial power to go and prosecute. So Solicitor General don't just take people on the street and prosecute them because they steal. Our law at the time required that audit must be conducted. From 2005 to 2007, at the time Gongloe was Solicitor General, GAC was still conducting spot audits. So you don't blame that. But this is what he did as Solicitor General. He refused to prosecute political prisoners, to prosecute political prisoners. People who were charged with treasons for political reasons. As Solicitor General, he told his boss, the president, I wouldn't prosecute them because it's against the law. As Solicitor General, when there were cases where people who were demonstrating, calling for their civil liberty, we who were in the CDC, Moluba Molu and the rest of us, when we went to protest, when they arrested us, Gongloe will call and say, put them aside. If it depended on me to prosecute them, I wouldn't prosecute them. They are prisoners of conscience. That's what he did as Solicitor General. He transformed prosecution and ensured that every lawyer in Liberia who was serving as county attorney were law school graduates and provided them the logistics to do their job. That's what he did as Solicitor General. At Labor Ministry, he enforced liberalization policy. You go to Liberia today, you see young girls, young boys standing in front of Lebanese stores and Indian stores serving as accountants. Is because Gongloe enforced liberalization policy, ensured that the president signed it, and he stood his ground to not reverse it. Those are some of the things he did at the Labor Ministry. But, Brother Gayman, the day you show a record of any report that says 88 concessions in Liberia were bogus, I will cease to come on the show. I challenge you. This is a challenge to you. Show me any report that says there were 86 concessions that were bogus. I challenge you. Show that report. And if you show the report, let me tell you, in the 2005 to 2011, CDC had the single largest black in the legislature. Every concession that was passed in Liberia, every concession that was signed in Liberia by the president was rectified by CDC lawmakers. They had authority to supervise and ensure compliance, oversight responsibilities over all the institutions. Monies were stolen from Lofa. Yes, millions of dollars. CDC had a responsibility as a political party to ensure check and balance. Local budget went to the legislature all the time to be passed. It was approved because there were compromises. We have people in local who are going to school when he was opposition leader. He's complicit. That's the reason why he did not speak. And that's the reason why up to today, he cannot prosecute and investigate what happened to Nuka. He should take responsibility and start shifting blame on other people. Vote breaking lastly, gentlemen. I support Gongloe. If we win the election, and somebody steals the result, there will be consequences. Because I mean, you undermine democracy. We will not give you chocolate for stealing the people's vote and the people's decision. Other people can say their own different way. But when CDC takes as its only campaign message, that we are forced to win, the party people cheated or we cheat them too. You bring gun in the country, we can see it. If you rig the election from Gongloe, Liberian people will stand up to you and ensure their will prevail. Thank you.
Mr. Sieh, while the next closer coming, when you get a chance, please check your messenger. I just sent you the budget for the vice president's office, and the rest of the other 4 high ups in the government. So when you get a chance, just put it on the screen as we close out. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you did your closing, right? Let me go to where they.
I did, yeah.
Ms. Mama.
Thank you, Mr. Sieh. The show was a great show. I'd like to reiterate on the Southeastern Road. I know people try to give excuses that the place is a rainforest and the road is always going to spoil and blah, blah, blah. That is not true. The road being existing over the years, and it only took 1 day for people leaving from Harper to reach to Monrovia. Nothing has changed. There were yellow machines on the road that were always working on the bad spots. It's not all the road that is bad. It's certain portions of the road that are bad. So for instance, between Tapeta and Zuedru, you have a very bad road in between there. Then between Zuedru and River G, you have another bad spot. How long does it take to take yellow machines and put them on these spots to keep getting the mud from the road and making the road, putting it in a better condition? Why not get some dirt to refill other holes that need to be filled? I don't think anybody needs a kind of scientist to go do feasibility study before that is done. This is not a new road. It's an old road over the years. So if we start making comparison where the other government was there, why they didn't do it? Like bro being assistant one rest and they says yes, so and nothing was done. So therefore we can't do it. Then why were you elected? Every time there is new government, we expect improvement. So if you're going to be giving excuses because Madam Salif did not do it, because Taba didn't do it, so Doe didn't do it, and because Doe didn't do it, so Taylor didn't do it, and because Taylor didn't do it, then Ellie cannot do it, then what kind of country are we running? When you are elected, do what others did not do. That what gave you an edge. You have to make a difference. And I think giving excuses really doesn't really work in this case, because that road is a very major road. You're talking about agriculture. It's where you get most of the food from. All right. Besides Lofa and Bon County, the South is there a lot of food that can come to Monrovia to sustain our people. So you can't say because the population is less. Well, it's not only about population. The Southeast has brain. They got contribution to make. They don't get quantity, they are quality of people that are there. So the road's supposed to go there to allow people to be connected with the city. And I think that is important. And don't downplay people based on numbers. I don't think it's fair. So the next government that is coming, whether it's Josh we are re-elected or another person taking over, I think there should be a priority when it comes to the Southeast, because those are people. They are Liberians. And you can't get them cut off like that. No excuse. Thank you.
Thank you. No excuse whatsoever. Jaron Geman, you go, and then Commissioner will get a last word tonight.
Mr. Eastman has not closed yet, but
he did.
Oh, he did. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, every time Mr. Mami and I come on here, we usually clash for a reason, because I've always accused him for what we call in politics splitting hair. When you look at a Global Witness report, which is an independent report, they accused the alien government of 66 concession agreements that are not in conformity with Liberian laws. Now, Mame and the unity partisans are saying there is nowhere in that agreement that the operative word they're fighting about is bogus. You heard him say that if you show any report that said bogus, he's not saying show any report that says that 66 or 68 concession agreement is false. You see how he's splitting here, but we got him on that one. Okay, so let's go to the election here. We are talking about, I want the audience to tune in on Sunday on point, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be talking about...
I invited?
Excuse me. So, listen, man, how do you guys... I don't know what's...
No, I'm just asking what I've invited on the show.
Listen, guys. Listen, man. I went to Bassa High School.
You started, Jerome. You called the man's name. What do you expect?
It doesn't matter.
I was just asking what I invited on point. We're not anything,
listen, man. I went to the same high school that Bronsky went to. They say when you are debating, when your opposition is talking, you give them the courtesy, and when you are talking, they shoot. But that falls out the window when you and Kamara are here, and that's not nice. But on Sunday, I want you to tune in because there's a letter from the Star and Stripes, which is the official site of the U.S. military. They put up a letter, and in that letter, I think I shared with most of you, we're going to be discussing that real quick, and I end on this. It said, blank, blank, blank. That leaves the incumbent president, the former international soccer star, with the celebrity status among much of the country's indigenous youth. Weah's administration have been heavily criticized over management of the economy. His choice of running mate, Joel Howard Taylor, the estranged wife of Charles Taylor, have presented its own challenges. But against a 78-year-old Joseph Boakai, with Prince Johnson seemingly waiting in the wings, Weah and the CDC appear to be the most predictable and safe outcome. That's from the U.S. military. And we're going to be discussing that. Now, we're also going to be discussing the violence in Foya. 2 dead and several in the hospital. When we are talking about words have consequences, we witness it here in these United States when Trump was fanning the fire. When they first came to overthrow an illegitimately elected government in Biden. Most of the folks that came had never seen Trump. They don't know who he is, but they say he told us to come here and converge on the Capitol, and we are complying. So what the leader of a political party says matters. When Joseph Boakai throws stone and hides his hand and says, this is only rhetoric. When you tell the people, burn down the city, destroy the country, and you say it was literary talk. My people, Joseph Boakai is an existential threat to our society. Joseph Boakai does not have tomorrow. This is it. Joseph Boakai does not need visa to the United States. Joseph Boakai does not need millions of dollars from the United States to develop the country. He needs enough money to survive. He needs enough money to be like Buhari in Nigeria, where he spent 2 years in the hospital at the expense of the people. That's what Joseph Boakai wants. Joseph Boakai future is today. Thank you very much. Great show. Tune in Sunday at 4 o'clock.
And is Mame invited to On Point?
Am I invited to On Point?
Yes,
that's
sir.
why I was asking. So
that was a question.
You know, we always do this. We'll
right.
bring you on.
Thank you.
Come on. And Mr. Sherry, you are also invited. Mr. Namba, you are already invited. Ms. Marba, you are also invited.
Okay. No problem.
Commissioner, you got the last word tonight on this debate.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I will see. I'll start coming with my CPP lunch and coming to On Point. I'll figure it out.
So thank you very much, and thanks to fellow panelists. I want to do something different. I want to dedicate my closing to Jessica Lloyd, a young Liberian woman who was nearly lynched by her white American missionary husband, a married missionary in Liberia, who also married this young Liberian woman. and almost lynched her were it not for a biker. So I'm appalled that we in the diaspora have done nothing, and none of this has come up anywhere. I don't see any of the major media institutions, including ours, highlighting this issue. I'm appalled by this. I put out some announcement maybe a week ago, and I'm still soliciting support. We do need to support that young woman because this is who I am. It's not about tribe. It's not about anything. This is who I am. So if you have a victim of that kind of violence, injustice, we need to, as Liberians. So now we're sitting talking about, politics and whatnot. But these are some of the things that we expect our leaders to do. He's arrested, but what is the Liberian government's record of prosecuting these people? Under the Ellen Johnson administration, there was something went on with another educational institution in Liberia. Nothing happened. So right now, we don't know what's going to happen. So I would like to see us supporting Jessica Lloyd and her family. There should be a show dedicated to I don't care how we do this. And, I don't care what we do. Even if it's $1 that we can get over to that family. If it's a statement that we can get over to their family to support them. I have called the church. I have called Lucas's church. His church is in Iowa. I called the church. I left a message for the church. They have not returned my call. But I'm going to continue to still try. So this is the kind of thing I think that we need to do. We need to look out for one another as Liberians. And I'm not just talking to us as, media people on here, since in fact we're talking to perhaps several hundreds to thousands out there. So my plea is to everybody for help. So I want to deviate, permit me, pardon me for this, but I'm really burning inside. This is hurting me. I don't know this young lady, but she's a Liberian. She's an African. She's a human being. So that alone should require all of us to do something to manifest our love for country, for humanity, for Africa, for our own sister, our young sister. This is deplorable. And the guy is sitting there now. He's lying to the investigators. Liberia does not have a good judicial system. So the United States government may get him out of there. And next thing you know, he'll be walking out here in the streets of America scotch-free. So I want to end by that. And that's where I want to end. I'm sorry for ending on a very somber note, but I'm really hurting inside. And I want to thank Cole for responding that time when I put out the announcement on our chat room. She was the only one that responded, so I want to thank her for that.
Comrade Sherry, thank you for closing in a very sobering manner, and I agree with you. The act committed by this so-called missionary is unconscionable, and I can't imagine that someone will come from the United States and go to Liberia and engage in such evil, and it was done in broad day.
Yeah.
And we Liberians are like sitting by, men and leaders, and it's like, well, once it's the white man, we shouldn't do anything, and then we'll be looked at as savages who want to do something unordinary. You put it right. We have to watch for each other. We got to be there for each other. Yeah. If there was any time that this young sister needed us as men, and brothers, there has been that time.
Thank you.
And I want to agree with you that for many media institutions to have just allowed this to just slip by, including our own network. It is just unfortunate, and that is how we tell the truth, even if it is against us.
Yeah.
We will talk to the CEO. We'll see what we can do in this regard. It is not because the missionary is white that why we have to act. It is because of the evil that was perpetrated by this man.
Yeah.
And we all need to stand against evil, no matter where it comes from. Well, folks,
Anthony, real quick, last. This man is married. His wife is in Liberia, and he married Jessica Lord. So he had 2 wives. Okay. And he didn't treat his other wife that way, his white woman wife that way, but he treats the African woman this way. He aborted her pregnancy. He's not a doctor, but she went through that pain. And then he tried to kill her in the cemetery. So that's what we're talking about. And I want to thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, folks in cyberspace, until we catch you again, this is how we'll come to the end of Friday Night Debate. Watch out for another Friday Night Debate next Friday. And I'm sure I'm going to be here and I'm going to moderate again. The song that closes the broadcast this evening is We Are All Liberians, and you know we are all Liberians. Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.